But like this slow progression of building up to like this long-term training session is what is ideal, I think, for bodybuilders. Progress has made it with new stimulus. Why are we not just blending styles together?
See, I was hoping that was happening.
And why can't we just like on this lift, I usually kind of do more of a high intensity, and then for these like kind of other lifts where I'm just like I'm focusing more on pump, and like it can all be done in the same workout.
All right, guys, we're back with another episode of Table Talk. Today, my guest is Mike Van Wyck. Really doesn't need an introduction. You've already been on before. Go look at the past one. We're just going to jump kind of straight into this. Just earlier, I was looking through the last broadcast you were on, and I got that for you. Because how did you not know?
I've actually never seen this kind before, so this is good.
Yeah, so they were having a conversation about the Uncrustables, which you just now found, right? Just uncovered. And when the powerlifting world, those are like gold.
Yeah, I found that out.
And I was laughing because you were talking about it, and I just had an event over here last weekend, and on Saturday it's a huge training day, so we'll start at 9 and we finish probably like 6. And because it's so much training, it's not like, okay, stop and have a meal, because it's kind of like a powerlifting meet, but worse. Yeah. So it's this kind of shit that I'll have them eat because it's kind of easy to digest and doesn't fill them up too much. Like powerlifting, like meat, I call it meat food. Yeah. Like it's shit you can eat during a meet where it's not too bad.
I literally got turned on to all of them because I only had the one kind. Yeah. And then I just got inundated with like, there's a fucking Nutella one. Do you know there's a grape jelly one? I'm like, yeah. And now I'm like on the hunt for all of them.
Well, pretty much every gas station will have like a grape.
Really?
I'm at the gas station. It's not like
Canada, we're sheltered, man. We don't have this shit. You can only literally get them at Costco in Canada. Mm-hmm. So it's just like, I'm exposing Canadians to this new thing everyone else has known about for years.
Yeah, there are. I do know that there are all kinds of different flavors and shit like that, but I've always been ghetto with the Smuckers. Grape and strawberry. And that's about it. And from the events that I've had, the strawberries always go like that.
Oh, they're amazing.
And I always have grape left over, so you kind of got the shitty one.
I just remember to have 2 in the glove box right now that are probably absolutely horrid.
No, they're probably not good. They're not good. Even if they're frozen, they're still not bad if they're completely frozen.
Yeah, I can't get down with that. I gotta wait.
Yeah, no, I've never toasted it, so I can't tell you anything about that. I do want to talk about your shoulder replacement, but I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that right from the jump.
No,
because we're going to lose too many listeners because they're going to be these old fuckers, these old guys talking about being beat up and shit. One thing I want to talk about, which I saw through your stuff yesterday, was one of the videos that you did where you were talking about how you do not count reps for hypertrophy. Go into that a little bit, and then we'll elaborate some.
I mean, I do to a degree, in the sense that if I know that the person's going to moving a pretty heavy load that they're not anywhere near acclimated to, or it's something kind of new to them, like it's a foreign kind of weight, I'll give them something to aim for. I have in my head, like, I'd like to see them get like 4 to 6 here. If we don't, we don't. But I mean, usually when I take someone up that high, I'm going to back them off right away anyway with a drop or some type of superset or whatever. So I'm not concerned about necessarily how many reps they get at that high weight that I'm trying to hit them to hit, because I know we're going to do work on the back end. But yeah, I kind of go by, like I said in the video, how people are responding to the weight that they're doing or the movement that they're doing. So if I see that you're getting your 8 reps and me and you are chest pressing, and I'm seeing that it's kind of like 6 was like this, 7's like this, and 8's like, I'm getting a little uncomfortable, right? It's like I want the uncomfortableness to be there, but I don't want it to like have it shut down the form and start breaking into bad habits again of like rolling out of getting out of tucking into our lats or our scap and rolling over shoulders or pulling, like hunching. When I see that stuff trying to like creep in, I'm like, okay, stop. Like, because we still have more work to do. So in essence, I don't count reps because I see the workout as a whole journey.
Yeah.
I don't see it as like, I need to get these milestones along the way. I just want to get the work done I need to get done and achieve what I want to achieve over the duration of the workout.
Yeah.
So each set doesn't mean much to me as much as the sets as a whole do, right?
Yeah.
So
where one of the things that, because it's fresh in my mind, because I just had the event this weekend. So with strength athletes, say their first exercise is going to be periodized, like a squat or whatever. Then the second one's going to be 3 to 5. So just heavier shit. Mm-hmm. Then when we get into what I would call the hypertrophy, where you want to build muscle.
Yeah.
Right. One of the issues I see with lifters, and it's not just the strength athletes, it's probably all lifters, is they'll have a range. And so let's say it says 4 sets of 10, where when I was coming up and people were advising me with that type of training, it would be, it's like 10 to 15. There was always a range.
Yeah.
It wasn't a designated number of reps. And I knew within that range, I should get, say, a rep or shy of failure, right? Right about like what you're talking about. Yeah. It's uncomfortable. Maybe I get one more, but if I get one more, something's going to get fuckery.
Yeah.
Technique's going to break down. Something's going to break down. Yeah. Where the side effect of having that number, from what I've seen, is if it says 12, they may have got to that point at 6 or 7, but then find ways to fuckery, to change it, heave it, whatever they're going to do.
Yeah.
And get 6 or 7 more shitty reps, where all they're kind of doing is kicking the can down the road.
Yeah.
Where, the big talk today or the last year or so would be the effective reps, whatever that's supposed to mean, the ones closest to failure. But let's just assume that that is true. Mm. All they're doing is they're getting there, and then they're kicking it further down the road because of that, which brings up a lot of where your philosophy is kind of based in. Is when you do that, there's one school of thought that says there has to be some type of progressive overload with the movement from session to session. You have to be able to add weight from session to session. Yeah. Where if you're going off feel, adding the weight from session to session isn't going to be the priority. Yeah,
I think more that if I had to determine how I would explain it to people, it's like I just want to be more efficient at what I'm doing every time I go in.
Yeah.
So I don't want to, whether the weight goes up or the weight stays the same, or I'm adding in new variables with drops or ISO holds, or I just want to be more effective, and I want to connect better with the movements that I'm doing. So if I know that I'm connecting better, it's like I had this discussion with Ian yesterday because we were out for dinner. He's doing a lot of sprint work right now, trying to get back into sprinting. And he's doing all this testing with a guy that came up to work with him. I'm sorry, I don't know his name, but he's getting him to do all this stuff and showing him how inefficient his body is in certain positions, where it's like literally like your right side's firing 41% than your left, or like you're using this much more of your right leg, or you're doing your other, like you're doing a pull off a rack and stagnant pull, and he's literally not even engaging parts of his back at all. So it's like my idea is I want you to feel more things than you felt, and I want you to become efficient at feeling those things every time you come in, because if we're stimulating, we're growing in the sense that, like, if I'm feeling things and I'm getting blood to areas and I'm able to hit more muscles as a bodybuilder, not as a powerlifter, I'm able to understand I'm training more of my body, therefore I'm building more of my body.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm not just like, I know like me and you could go and just like mutant press, like go wild and press 4 plates, but then just get it up and down and jerking our head around and do all this stuff. But it's like, the next day, does our chest feel like it worked, or did we just like feel fucking neurologically messed up because we're like, oh fuck, man, like
probably neurologically.
I just got fucked up because I moved that weight, right? So I just want to be more efficient at things, and I just find that, like you said, with your point, when you tell people reps, they get an endpoint in their mind.
Yes,
and like I just have to get there. It's like it's not a finish line. You're not racing someone to like a point, so it's not my idea to get there. I just want to focus on each step I'm taking while I'm walking.
Yeah.
To get to that point, right?
So as we move forward talking about training, it's all going to be hypertrophy bodybuilding related. So it's not going to be like powerlifting strength stuff, because that's where I think a lot of the strength athletes screw things up bad. Yeah. Right. Because of what you're talking about there. Because if they're doing side raises, and it's towards the back end of their bench day or whatever it is, it's debatable how much those side raises are really going to help their bench if they go from 25-pound side raises to 70. Well, yeah. It's probably not going to make any difference, but they need to build their shoulders, right? Yeah.
I mean, I'm having that issue now because we'll get into it, but
Yeah.
after my shoulder replacement, I've had a lot of trouble reactivating and re-engaging my front delt because they chopped the fuck out of that to get in there.
Mm-hmm.
So like neurologically and like it's just not working the way it should. Like I'm able to hold up, but then I'm like weak and I have to drop down. That's my arm. I'm not holding weight.
Yeah.
But like on another angle, I can hold straighter. On this angle, and if I open up, I'm stronger. It's like these weird things that happen, right? So I understand like what you're saying with the side raises, how it needs to help with your shoulder, but it's like, I feel like when it comes to benching and powerlifting, it's like these auxiliary things you're doing, maybe it's almost in essence like to make you more aware of these muscles that are surrounding.
Yes.
I'm happy with just being aware of where they are and understanding like I know how to like retract my shoulders down and lock my rear delt and then engage into my low trap and like hold things down.
Yes.
So if I have awareness of these things, I know how to move them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I understand what you're saying. I would almost guess that like powerlifters wouldn't even need to, your auxiliary stuff, I don't even think would benefit you doing it very heavy.
I personally believe no, it doesn't for them, right? Because they don't like working with them on lats is a big thing, right? Because they don't know how to flex their fucking lats. They don't know how to. So it's the intent with elbows out, intent with elbows in. It's a different intent, and they don't know. And so it's like if the only way that you can know is to throw a fucking ton of weight on a chest supported row and work your biceps really hard, then that's not going to help stabilize the bench at the top where they got to be able to hold that. And the issue then becomes with them or just people who are training to get bigger, how do they progress in weight? Because there's two things that are going on. There's the intent and then there's also that weight, right? Because if they're keeping a training log, and this can become fuckery too, because if they're keeping a training log, they'll be like, all right, chest or machine supported, whatever supported row, 110 for 12. And then there's no note, as far as like, how did it break down? Why did it fail? All they're going to do is next time do 115 or 120. But if they keep progressing like that, what I've seen is by the time they get to 140, that's not even the same rep they were doing at the 110. But if they stay at the 110, they're going to be a puss their whole entire life.
Well, they think so. I've realized that because I've had to take a step back and get back into acclimating my body to be in positions that it should be in, because it's been out of positions for so long, because I've just had this shoulder that's literally wanted to pull in and not move anywhere. So everything around it is from my rear delt to my scap on that side wouldn't retract, and like learning how to like even lay on the ground and pull chin back and like retract and do all this stuff is like, you do that stuff with like these people as well. And you might find that they have even better results with their bigger lifts, because the ability to lock down just with no weight is like creating this environment where it's like, oh, I know how it's supposed to feel now. So then I can apply that to like my chest supported row. Cause I know like a chest supported row is literally doing a scap retract and pull head back off the ground. But everyone thinks it's yanking this fucking thing at them and like dry humping the air. But it's like the chest pad is the ground. You are literally retracting and pulling back from it. That's all it is. But you guys have made it into something it's not. Just because you're like, oh, I have to manhandle weight to get better. So like you said, I think it's a very dangerous thing where it's like, when you're coming from a sport of powerlifting, of course, it's about how much load can I move, because that's my sport. But it's like when the stuff that's helping you out, it's almost if you treat that as like rehab physio stuff that makes you more efficient at moving those loads because you understand locking down better. You'll become better than you ever could. Where it's like, oh, I did barbell rows and then my bench got even better because my back got better. It's like, it didn't though. You just got acclimated to pulling weight from below you now. So now weight feels good pulling into you, right? So
well, you made a really good point just a minute ago where you were talking about their bench position is basically that isometric position of and the scaps locked in there and down. And maybe they know how to do it there, maybe. But a lot of times they'll lose the bench or a squat, probably more likely, because their ability to isometrically hold that position for the time period it takes them to do that maximum rep. Let's go. And then they miss that, and then they don't realize that they missed that because they just don't have the strength to be able to isometrically hold that or even get in the position.
It's like you find with guys, I'm sure you can attest to this too. If you had them lay on the ground and do that, they can't even hold it for 10 seconds.
No.
Like they're literally will be like, or their back will start seizing, and literally their tailbone, if they're doing it right, like spine will activate down to the tailbone. You'll see them like, and it feels like something's wrong. And they're like, oh fuck, like,
yeah.
It's like, no, that's what's supposed to happen. It's those muscles are all supposed to work down that chain.
Yes.
You're literally working with 20% of that chain, and you're as strong as you are, which is fucking insane, right? Like,
yes,
you're benching 600, 800, 700 pounds using like not even locking down even half as well as you should.
Mm-hmm.
So think about how fucking strong you are, and think about if you actually got that whole chain to close, that weight you're doing now would literally feel like nothing.
Mm-hmm.
It would be like a feather moving off of you because you're like, oh, I'm fucking. Stability is strength, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm stable, yeah, the weight might just be too heavy and it might just not go up, but it doesn't crumble us and it doesn't cause like a pec tear or like some type of tweak or like shoulder twins. It's like, oh, I'm locked. It just didn't move. Okay, guys, take it off.
Yes. So for the audio only, what he's explaining, because he's arching here, is if you're laying, you explain it. So if you're laying flat on the floor.
Yeah, if you laid flat on the floor like the turf here, and you literally had your hands down by your side, had your shoulders sunk as low as you could so you're not up into your traps, and just had your head relaxed, you would start by just literally tucking your chin and forcing it back. For some people, it might be 2 inches. Some people, it might work its way to 6. Whatever it is where you feel like there's some type of engagement in your cervical spine where you're like, oh, like this is a lot different head position than I'm used to, and I'm dropping my head again. So it's like we're getting used to moving just the head. And then we retract shoulders and pull head and hold back into that low, trying to get that low lat and like mid trap to engage so we can get in this position where our shoulders are rolled down and tucked. So we're in this position that's super powerful.
Yes.
Where we're not overextending. We can't overextend if we try because we're so locked into back that like our extension just becomes wherever that tightness allows us to let out, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's almost, I got that, and it started like, you learn these things or you see these things, you start equating it to other things. Like think about jujitsu. If guys are here and linemen, they're here.
Yeah.
I never do this ever. Because if I do, someone's going to yank my arm down or arm bar me in jiu-jitsu. So it's like, these guys understand a power position, or they're here and they understand, like, don't let my arms out and like, keep my arms in tight. But in this sport, we're just like, anything to get the thing to move.
Yeah.
Like, forget athletic prowess or like body mechanics, just like the fucking weight needs to get off me, right? So if you look at these other sports and you see how movement carries over across all things, you start to see reoccurring themes. So it's like, why are we in powerlifting or even bodybuilding, especially like, why do we think one, it's just about moving the weight, or two, in bodybuilding, being as stiff as possible?
Mm-hmm.
When nothing in life that we do is stiff. Even walking down the street requires a sequence of action, right?
Yeah.
I don't walk and go, stomp my feet.
Yeah, well, I know. It's some of it becomes, one of the things I had down here was, it's a process as you're moving through training to where the reason why they do it is probably the same reason why we did it one time.
Yeah.
It's fucking fun.
Well, yeah.
You're moving big weight and you're throwing shit around. Yeah. And I'm not too sure if somebody would have been able to convince me otherwise then.
Yeah.
Right. So but
I can clearly remember people trying to convince me otherwise back when I was doing that stuff, and I was like, this guy's a fucking pussy.
Oh, I totally know. I've used that analogy many times, that it's now we're the guys on the other side of the table. Yeah. Where at one point in time somebody was trying to tell me that, like, just slow that shit down, flex and do, like, just shut the fuck up. I'm getting stronger, I'm making progress, this is working.
That's why it's like, I hope that just like when I say this pretty often, like I don't care if someone listens to all that I say, but if I can say one thing to even like the most meathead person out there that's doing like the craziest shit you can think of, like if you can just take one thing from me, like, oh, he said to like lock down your back. So like, yeah, they still do everything fucking haywire, but they're understanding this, like, I need to kind of be here. I don't need to think about all where I'm moving and my first movers and like where my tension is and tempo. It's just like, he said I should be careful and kind of lock down in here, so I'm gonna fucking do that. It's like, at least you won a bit. Like, at least like, yeah, I gave you something that might help you avoid or like offset or delay what problems could come, right? So
yeah, the compromise I'll put out to them is just give me one movement for each body part where you do it real strict and tight. Yeah. And it can be the last. So do your stupid shit. Yeah. And I'll kind of try to not look. Yeah, just do that. But then when you go to something you have control over, a pec fly or something, do it with intent, do it right. Yeah. And then in my brain, I'm like, that probably did more for them than all that other shit. But
The thing is, the smart people and the people who are like, are actually going to carry on and develop a physique and develop a strength, or like become these bodybuilders. Like, they're going to grab onto something, right? So the light bulb's going to come on at some point. It might not come on because I said to come on. Like, it's like someone who has like, this is a bad example, but like, if you've ever known someone that has a drug problem, the world can tell them they need help. Their own mother can cry in their face, like, you need to get help. You're like, fucking get yourself. Until they realize they need help, they won't get it. Do you know what I mean? It's the same with these like crazy lifter guys. Like, they're never going to listen to you, but at least you can be that voice in the head when they do clue in. They're like, I remember he said to do this. And like, I'll remember this little thing. And now I'm going to try and do that, because I realize I'm fucking on this weird path right now where every time I go and do chest, I twinge my shoulder because I'm literally on the brink of a fucking pec tear and just ignoring it. But like, that's what it's got to be. It's just got to be this smooth transition. There's some people that'll just like, they'll be like, Dave, I don't know what I'm doing. Tell me what to do. And they'll listen to you and they'll be great right away. But the modes are, I think like 85% of society is like, I got it, dude. Like, I'm going to figure it out on my own. But then if you keep, it's like, if you just keep planting the seed, you think something will grow eventually, right?
Well, gym culture is different than it was 30 years ago too. Yeah. Right. So 30 years ago, I can remember people, if it's a lat pull down, sticking their knee in my back, and they just do it. Right. You're not going to do that now. No. Right. Because
you should.
I know. You're in a gym that has people that you're seeing fuckery all the time. How do you determine when you're going to give unsolicited advice and when you're not? Yeah, that's the thing that's changed.
Like, if they're looking at me and they're like, oh, like, you mean like, you think I'll give my advice, but like, I've learned in my life, like, unless someone asks for advice, just kind of keep your shit to yourself, right?
Yeah. Well, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, they can get a lot of unsolicited advice online, right?
They're getting it all the time. That's the basis of their training style is unsolicited advice that I've absorbed. And I'm like, I should try and do a split squat today with or Bulgarian split squat holding 80 pounds while I can't even do a proper squat, period. But I'm going to walk this like exercise that is literally the equivalent of like walking a tightrope over 2 points, like a cliff. Yeah. I'm going to walk a tightrope instead of walking over a bridge. That's what I'm going to do to make my gains. I'm going to like do this weird shit.
So when you're in the gym now, if I'm to break the lifters that are in there from, say, intermediate under and then intermediate over, what are the biggest mistakes that you see out of the corner of your eye with the intermediate under?
Just this overwhelming, there's probably more, but right now all I can think of is like this overwhelming need to like do every exercise. Like, I just try everything that I've seen because I assume that the next exercise I learn is the one that will unlock the body part. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh, I do my bicep curls like this now because someone says if I do my bicep curls and I lift my elbows and then I rock down, I do and this, and like, it's like, everything is always has to be new and has to be the latest, greatest thing, or you're not on the cusp of greatness or of developing. But then you look at these people and they're not developing at all, or they're just developing at a rate, especially if they're younger, that's just coming from like using resistance training. So if you're resistance training and you're young and you're like, something's going to happen because whatever, even if you're doing it wrong, muscles have to work to move the weight. They may not be the muscles you're trying to target, but your muscles need to move the weight. So you might develop great shoulders, great biceps because your pulls are all bicep based. But it's like, that's just what I see. Like this desire to, and like you said, like this unsolicited advice that they see all the time. So they're like, oh, so-and-so told me to do this exercise. Meanwhile, they don't understand that content creator is trying to think of stuff to show because there's nothing to show. So like, this is a new exercise. And they're like, I saw one that was like a Tom Platz style leg extension where he like lets his hips rise. It's like, that's not new, guys. That video is from the fucking 60s or 70s, whatever the 80s, whatever the fuck it was. That's not new. Yeah. Just because you found it and it's different than what you do, it's not new. He did that. That's why he has the legs that he has, because he understands that tension. You're just like seeing like, oh, I just rock back and forth and my legs will grow like that. Like, okay. It's like, that's what I see with just people who are intermediate and below. It's just having trouble deciphering what's going to create the most growth for you and what's going to get you going on the right path, because they're just looking. It's like us standing here and there's 20 roads for us to take. Yeah. And we're like, which one would you go? Like, oh, next day you come in, you're like, oh, like,
well, the creator can't make the same thing twice either. Right.
Yeah. So they're bound to this need to constantly be giving you something fresh and new, or like a new perspective. It's like, that's why like this is off topic, but a lot of times I in the last little bit I've gotten really kind of like sick of creating content, in the sense that like if I have something to say, I'll say it, but like I don't want to ever feel like I'm obligated to provide entertainment. So it's never why I wanted to do it. So I found myself being less and less engaged in terms of like trying to find content, unless something sparks my interest, right? So it's like I can't imagine ever becoming these content kids or these people who's just like, okay, well, what are we doing? Like, let's plan this out. Like, we're gonna do deadlifts today and talk about this. It's just like it's exhausting, right? I only film 1 day a week. That's it.
Well, I think that the other side of that, and this would be, I guess, for them, if I'm to help them, is content gets lost in the abyss pretty quick.
Yeah.
You know, it's when I was trying to push the reels on my Instagram, like I could repost something 3 months ago. Just repost the same thing. Oh my God, this is great. You know,
where did you come up with this?
Like, it's from three. I just downloaded it and re-uploaded it. You know, it's the same thing. Yeah. So I don't think it always, if it's a good message, I don't think it always has to be fresh. Yeah. You know, because people will see it. They never saw the first one. You know, and there's so much that it kind of gets diluted out there as well.
Yeah. That's why I found like I was, for a while, I was just putting out the reels that I put out that are clips from videos that would be on my YouTube. And then I was just like, you know, it's crazy how drastic the audiences are from Instagram to YouTube. It's almost like other worlds. Like it's hard to grow on YouTube. It's hard to like get attention, or because there's so much there, and there's so much quality shit on YouTube. There is a lot of good people on YouTube, whereas Instagram's like a lot of shit going on here. We don't know what's good and what's not. You know what I mean?
I do think it is definitely different demographics. Yeah. Because we've seen just with the podcast, the YouTube demographics are different than the audio only demographics. A lot. Yeah. You know, it just, the views, like on YouTube, the views can be really big for one person and not really good for the next person. Yeah. But the downloads are all the same. Yeah. Is what it is. And I'm like, well, wait a minute here. Like, what the fuck? Like, what is the difference here? Is and once you dig into the analytics, you don't fucking know either. You know, and Instagram, who knows what that is? Yeah.
That's why I started talking to Laura and the other people who are part of kind of my group of people I work with. And I was like, I think we should just load all the reels, like, because I don't load every reel I have. Laura cuts for me. I don't use because they're just. It's not. It would be crazy. I'd have to like load a reel every 2 a day, right? So I just kind of pick and choose stuff that I think would be cool. Like I found the most interesting of what I said, because half the time I don't remember what I said. So I'm like, oh, it was cool. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. So I'm like, just load the rest of the shit or all the stuff that never got put it on YouTube, and all of a sudden it starts like going like crazy, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, but if I put that same shit on Instagram, it would have been like, whatever.
Interesting.
Or like, this guy's fucking negative. It's like, it's just fucking an opinion, or it's just like I'm showing you something like anybody else would, right? It's like, that's another thing I have with like YouTube or Instagram. It's like, I'm just giving you information. You can take and do what you want with it. Like, don't be so attached to it. Like, it's just, it's just information. Like, trying to like change your world and like manipulate you into like thinking that think the way I think. It's like, no, it's like, does a comedian that goes on stage and rips on people or says shit, do they really think what they're saying to you? Or are they saying that to you just because it's an observation? And it's funny to like everyone who hears it, right? Yeah. But if someone does that in this space, you're a fucking hater. You're a fucking hater, bro. It's like, no, I'm just telling you what we all see. Like, there's these goofy kids in the gym that do this weird shit. Yes. And all of us are like, what the fuck's going on? Yeah. And I'm the one who's just like, yeah, that's kind of weird. Did anyone notice that? And they're like, he said it. I'm like, yeah, you saw it too, dude. Like, we all see it. Like, I'm the one who said it. So man, you're negative, bro. It's like, it's funny to me. Like, I'm not genuinely offended by it. Like, I put up a bench of, I'm sure you'll understand this. People put bands around the bench. Yeah. Like on commercial gym benches. Like, I get it. I know why you're doing that. I'm not an idiot. But in my mind, I'm still like, what the fuck? Like, the guys doing it aren't even benching their body weight. And and the gym is not that, the gym bench ain't that slippery, boys. Like, you're not going everywhere on it. Like,
I could say probably 95% of the people that are doing that don't need to be doing that.
No. They don't, and like, and
they
the
don't
thing
even
is,
know why it's there in the first.
Yeah, like but the thing is that automatically shows me you saw that somewhere.
Yeah,
the person that showed you that probably has horrible bench technique and form, and they're like, they need that because one time, because they set up horribly, they jerked their feet and slid on the bench and the bar. It's like, yeah, well, you were wrong to set up to begin with. So the band is a moot point. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
like fix your setup and like all your weight should be where it is. You should be pinned there. There's no reason. Like I can understand the bar sliding off your hand,
your body's
like slipping off, whatever, right? Because your grip's fucked up or something. But like your body moving, that's fucking insane. Like I've benched like 560 pounds in my life, like in college. I didn't slide anywhere. Yeah, I was stuck there. Yeah, it was either going up or crushing me.
Yeah, where I would think the origin of that came from probably was. Probably bench shirt lifters with open back shirts, right? So they have no material on their back. It's just skin with complete vinyl, not a grip or pad. And as they were setting up, say they may underhand grip to be able to pull,
they slid out of it.
They can't get set up. They can't. But once somebody lifts it out, you're not going anywhere. There's fucking whatever the weight is. It's 300 pounds pinning you into that you're not going anywhere. And I very rarely anymore see that slick of a bench pad anywhere.
Yeah, it's right. So I said, are you guys like? I don't understand. Are you greasing this thing down before you? Like, I understand some guy on with hair gel before and he's greasy. You're like, okay, well,
yes.
There you go.
Yeah,
it's clean again.
Yeah. Or you got to be sweating like hell, and it's got to be.
I mean, like if you're lifting in fucking Metroflex. Yeah. Down in Houston, down in Texas, where Ronnie lifted, and like I could see there's a little bit of condensation going on down there. Sure, slap something on there or chalk the bench. Like one of the two.
Oh, yes.
It's like I understand where you're coming from, but these kids, like these people, lost it on me. Like fucking, it's so fucked up. And then like you see the people in the comments who are intelligent. They're like, "This is stupid." You do realize that, right? But all the young kids, oh man.
Well, they'll also have sometimes they'll crisscross it. Right.
So, that happens too.
You know, that's like. No, I totally get what you're saying with that because like I said, I can see a point because it'd be like to stick them with, say, Jimmy Kolb with 1,400 pounds on a band bencher, right? He's got stick 'em fucking everywhere.
Well, yeah,
you know. But
he's also lifting fucking. He's also that kid who's doing that. He's lifting fucking 10 of you.
Yeah,
like above, like he's pressing 10 of you off his chest, like. Yes. You're going to do whatever the fuck it takes to fucking be that thing move, right?
Yeah. And I'd highly doubt that their back's tight to begin with if they have with the 95% that I'm talking about.
Exactly.
It's just part of it goes with their apparel, right? So it like goes with that. It goes with their shoes. Yeah. It goes with the 9 other things that they got to pull out to be able to do their bench workout.
The best is like kids walking around commercial gyms with fucking Olympic lifting shoes on. And they're doing biceps. What do you do? Do you know what that shoe's for? Like, do you know, you just like walking around in high heels? Like, is that what it is? Like, you're just slanted like, it's like, there's no purpose for that shoe outside of the purpose of the shoe.
Yeah.
You don't wear that shoe around. Like, it's like me walking around on my skates with guards on all day. Like, I just like my skates. Like,
yeah.
The fuck. And these kids, like, they wear them like they're real shoes. Like, I'm like, you have no clue what you're doing. And if I call you up for that, that's not being an asshole. That's just trying to help you not look like an asshole, because you look like an asshole, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
well, they don't see that the powerlifters that are using the shoe take the shoe off when they're done squatting.
Yeah, they want it off immediately.
They do their accessories because they kind of suck.
Yeah, like it's not fun to wear those shoes around.
Yeah, exactly. And the God, what are some of the other ones? The deadlift shoes become very interesting too.
I don't understand. Like the person who came up, like I don't know whether your stance on this is, but like I see these guys walking around with these deadlift shoes. They look like water shoes that kids wore when they used to go in the water.
Oh, jet ski shoes.
No, like so they don't get like on the beach. That's what they look like.
Yeah,
it's like just take your shoes off. What's the point? That like this millimeter thick pad of rubber underneath your feet is giving you that little bit of grip. It's like I'm sure if you just stood there in your bare feet or your socks and stood up, again, you're planted in the fucking deadlift stand.
Yeah,
the weight's holding you there. You're not going to go anywhere. Like whether you're connected through rubber or you're barefoot, right? So
yeah,
there's all these little trends and all these little ticks and fucking weird shit that people do. Like,
well, they'll see one person say it's an ultra wide sumo deadlifter that is trying to wedge, you pull the slack out of the bar.
Yeah.
So they need something to stick. I would say the grippy shit would have originated when when I was competing, you'd have plywood platforms with no carpeting, no nothing on it, just straight plywood. And then the fucker before you would use baby powder. And now you got to go sumo deadlift on fucking baby powder. Right. So then it's like, well, what the fuck? What's going to grip this? And that if you're sumo and it's a wide sumo. And you're trying to pull wedges. So you're dealing with a very small percentage that will do that. But I think, with Instagram and everything now, they'll see that one person.
And they'll be like, oh, this is what we do. Because that person pulls 8, 9. Yeah. Like it's a fucking walk in the park. And like, it's the shoes, bro. It's like, it's the same thing with like kids buying LeBrons or Jordans. Like, I'll play like Jordan when I get these. I'll play like LeBron. You know what I mean? Like, I have to have the gear if I want to be successful, right?
Well, yeah. Now, if they're bodybuilding, then what's the fucking point? I mean, the Barbarian brothers wore work boots, right? So maybe somebody needs to bring that back. Like the Timberland brown high heel fucking work boots.
I still see Fuad do workout videos in those boots, so he's keeping it alive.
So
shout out to Fuad.
With when you were out here before, one of the rants or frustrations, because you have some good ones, where the bodybuilders were always trying to train like powerlifters. Did that go away, or is that still going?
The people being mad about it?
No, the bodybuilders were training like powerlifters.
No, I still see it. I mean, it's just not. I don't think it's going anywhere. I see more of a shift into. It's not a shift because it's always been there as well. Just this like super strict form and like ultra locked down, tense like isolation. I guess you can call that movement, right? Where it's just like whatever if you're intending for that to hit your lat, you obviously have no comprehension of how your back actually moves. Because your back is a dynamic moving thing. It doesn't like work in straight lines, and you're pulling your arm like leaning over and like all this like weird shit. I just don't get it. Like that shit is running rampant. I don't see as much anymore of like people. I still see a lot of bodybuilders deadlifting that probably shouldn't be deadlifting because they're pretty bad at it. Like they might be strong as fuck, but they're not deadlifting the way, like if you saw the deadlift, you'd be like, yeah, you moved it, you got it. But it's not going well, man. Like
I always kind of looked at that as for a bodybuilder is if you're playing a video game and you have the little life bar at the top, right? And as you play the game, the life bar, drops, right? Where that life bar is your ability to recover from a training session. Now, if that deadlift takes up 50% of that life, you don't have much left in that training day to hit everything else you want to hit. Or you just do more than what you really should do. Which becomes 9 exercises or whatever it was. So it's, to me, that movement takes up too much of the power, the life, the life.
Yeah, it's this weird sequence. I always see a lot of guys that do deadlift. They add it into the lift. They add it into like the end of the workout for some reason. I see a lot of guys do that, or I see obviously they do it at the very beginning, like you're talking about. But it's like either way, like if you choose to do that, and that's a lift you want to do because you enjoy it. Why not just do that day? Just leave everything else alone. Do you know what I mean? Like, put all your work and effort into that thing. Let yourself maximally recover from doing that work, and then come in on your next day and hit your back or shoulder day, whatever it is. Like, if you deem it that important, give it that much importance in your program. Where it's like, I just came in today and deadlifted, and I'm just going to do that, and the next day I'm going to come in and do my body parts, right? Yeah.
So that was always one that if people were asking me that were just in hypertrophy phases. They didn't. That always kind of got eliminated because is it supposed to be on leg day or is it back day?
I mean, I don't know either.
Right. So where the fuck's it supposed to go? Then that kind of eliminates it entirely. Because
but some guys are just like I know guys, and I'm sure you do too. They just like, even if they're bodybuilders, they just want to do it. They've convinced themselves that like, whether that could be just out of sheer enjoyment. I enjoy picking that fucking thing up and ripping that bar, and that's cool, man. But like, just give it its own time, like give it its respect and do the lift and just walk away. Like, it's not like I'm going to do like about 10 reps, 10 sets of fucking dumbbell rows after that. And then I'm gonna do some pull downs, and it's like, well, you used your legs for more than that, I would guess, than your back. So
hamstrings are probably going to be blasted.
Like, how was that a back movement to start?
Then legs for the next day. Right. So that's where it kind of falls in with that. With your shoulder, you just had it replaced. So how long ago did you have it replaced?
It'll be 9 weeks this Thursday.
All right. And what was the final straw where you said, fuck it, I'm doing it?
Well, I mean, I had been being an idiot and just putting it off and just living with the pain. Because I was just like, I don't want to get another, I just had my hip done, so I don't want to do another surgery. And I had heard like nightmares about recovery from hip surgery. I mean, from shoulder surgery. So I was like, fuck, I'm trying to delay that because I'm hearing nightmares of like, you're stuck like this for 3 months and then you can slowly start like squeezing balls and like opening bands. And I'm like, oh, fuck that, dude. Like, I just want to like move on with my life. But it actually, I don't want to say his name because it's not his fault, but like a certain doctor gave me a stem cell injection into my shoulder. Mm-hmm. And that blew the problem up like no one could imagine. Like literally my fucking arm, I got the shot in my shoulder last December, and like from that point on to February, I couldn't even move my arm out. Like I couldn't, if something hit my arm, I'd literally like keel over in pain. And I couldn't like reach my arm out or like lift anywhere. I just had this crazy like throbbing in my bicep. Like I don't know what it did in there, but like whatever he did or whatever the shot did, it inflamed the area so bad that I was like, I can't, like it got better, but I'm like, I can't go through this anymore. I'm like, this was the pain level that I reached where I was like, fuck, I don't give a shit what the recovery is like. This has got to get better because
I'm sure that's probably how your hip was too.
Well, yeah, the hip came on so fast. Like it literally was, there was a day where something happened and then it snowballed worse after that. So I knew like every day was getting worse and I physically couldn't walk. Whereas the shoulder, I could ignore it like to a degree. Yeah. I'm functioning, I'm walking, I'm not lifting or moving my arm the way I should, but I'm still functioning as a human. Right. So it was just the shoulder has been hurting me for a decade, literally. So I was just like, man, like, let's just get this done now so we can move on with life. And
you just validated everything with my shoulder as to why I don't do PRP or stem cells. Cause
I'm not a fan.
Since 2004, it's locked, like it's restricted, but it's okay. You know, I can do the things I wanted. Probably how you were before you had that. It's like, I'm cool. It's been a decade. I'm cool. But a lot of people have offered, you know, hey, I'll do this. And I'm like, man, what if it, and my question back was, what if it makes it just 1% worse because then I'm fucked? Yeah. Like, what's the negative? Yeah. And my reply from all of them is, there's no negative. Yeah. I'm like, that's bullshit. There's always a negative.
I had PRP and stem cells put in this. Yeah. Felt no relief from either.
All right. Like, so after getting it done, it's 9 weeks. Is your range of motion better now than before you went in?
Like way better.
Way better.
Like I have to like, I couldn't do this before. Yeah. Like I couldn't literally open up to a front double. I'm still restricted because the areas are still tiny. Like, my body's still like, oh, like, what are you doing?
Well, there's muscles that haven't.
Yeah, like, but they're like, whoa, man, your arm's where it's not supposed to be. It's usually tucked in here. We don't do that shit. So as soon as I get in these weird positions or over rotate or whatever, my body kind of like, ooh, like, but there's no pain. Like I'm sitting here now talking to you. If this was the last time I came, I'd be adjusting my shoulder every 10 seconds, like, cause it's going into some weird spot. And I'm like, or I'm trying to like hold it or put it somewhere where it's jacked up. Whereas now it's like, I can sit here and I can sleep every night through the night with zero pain. Like,
so what was the rehab like from that?
Well, I'm still doing it, but I mean, I just do a lot of, I just listened to what he said. I did a lot of my own rehab with certain substances. So recovery is a little quicker.
How long, if at all, was it locked down? Was it
after the surgery?
Yeah, after the surgery.
No, after the surgery, I was putting an immobilizer. So I had like a band across and just holding my wrist. And so I used that. And when I walked around, but then after like maybe a week or two, I was like, man, like I was taking it off at home because I'm like, I don't need to, I'm fat. I don't need this thing wrapped around my body, holding my body weight, holding my heat in, fucking sweating all the time for no reason. So I'm like, I don't think at home, I'm not going to be like, oh, and like reach for something stupid or like get jerked or something. So I'm like, I'll just keep it off. And then I saw my surgeon after 2 weeks and he's like, you have your sling on? I'm like, no. He's like, it's okay. Like, okay.
Well, I think that's more so like if you're at the gym and somebody bumps into you and rips your fucking arm, or if you're still bouncing, that'd be a fucking big problem there. Yeah. So it's with your other training that you were doing, how long did you have to take off? Just a week? Just
like training people?
Well, yeah, training people, but just training the other body parts, training your other arm.
Yeah, I mean, I was I was back in the gym a day and a half after surgery. Like I went and did cardio and I worked out my left side and I was like back moving right away. So as soon as they told me like the exercises I could do, which were basic at the start, just like, I forget what the hell they were. They were like just basic stuff, like wrist, like rotating your wrist and like retracting your shoulders a bit, just like getting your joint moving again, arm circles and shit. I was doing all that. And then I was like, I'm not going to sit around and fucking, like, I'm fine. I can walk around and I can drive because I drive with my left. Probably shouldn't have been driving, but
yeah, well,
I'm like, I'm feel good. So I just went back to work and then I just progressed. Like I do the stuff they tell me to. I get a lot of acupuncture done with like stim attached to it. I work with a guy named Matt Nickel up in, you know, Matt. Yeah, Matt helps me out a lot. So he just kind of works with me and shows me some stuff. I kind of go off and do my own thing. He trying to trust me to like kind of take care of myself. Like a lot of this rehab stuff I find, and I was talking about this the other day, like it's good, but there's some exercises where it's just like, do you understand that there's a way better way to do that if you just use a piece of machinery, like a lat pull down and just like passively let it stretch you, as opposed to like there's a specific exercise they have where it's called like roll up the rim, because that's like a Canadian coffee term. I don't think that's what it's called, but you put a band around your arms and you put a roller on the wall and you tuck in and you roll up and down, right? It's fucking painful. When you have this thing, it's not easy, man. Like where if I literally just hold the band and I do it on air, I'm like, oh, look at that. Like, cause I don't have to push my weight and like crunch in and push all this stuff. So like I do this adaptive stuff because it's not literally my goal. I don't think in rehab, I don't think it should be your goal to find pain spots as much as like to find resistance and like work through it. Yeah. I don't want to feel pain. I don't want to feel like massive discomfort. So I'll kind of substitute stuff and just kind of work around. Like if something feels good, I do it. If I look at something and I'm like, I can't do that. I'm like, I'm not gonna do that, no matter what it is. Like,
yeah. So based upon your progress, do you think you'll have full range of motion equal to? Well, the other arm's probably a little fucked up too, but equal range of motion. This arm's
good, but it's fucking. I mean, I think I'll passively when I'm laying on the ground, I can get just as much range of motion as I could on my other arm, or when I'm laying on my stomach and I like contract my scap, I can. Even if this is the range of motion that I can get, which is not going to be at the end of it. This is used to be here.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm happy.
Well, that's why I'm asking the questions, is because I've heard very few success stories. Yeah. You know, as I'm sure you have as well.
Yeah.
People will say, my range of motion didn't even increase. The pain was still there. And now I can't load it, you know, with anything. And it's like, well, fuck, you know, I'm not going to do this until I want to just do cardio the rest of my life.
No, I mean, I think the biggest hurdles I've had to overcome so far is just like the loading thing. I press now, but on machines, and I start myself like in like retracted states, and then I start rocking off so I can get going. It's just that my right side fatigues faster because literally like my shoulder hasn't been working for like, I don't know how long. So I'm literally trying to like activate muscles and wake up muscles that I've literally guarded and shut down. Whereas now like they're having to work. So like I get a pump like crazy, but I'm using like 50 pounds on a press machine. And I'm like, holy fuck. Like, but I stand up and I'm like, oh, like I feel this everywhere. Not just like my tricep and my pec a little bit.
So do you think in say 6 months, you'll be able to train the way that you were before?
Yeah. I mean, my goal, I wasn't pressing heavy before. I wasn't doing any of that shit before prior anyway, but because I have a previously torn pec on that side. So I've always been a little guarded with that, and I have really no need to press heavy anymore. So, but I mean, I perceive in 6 months, my range of motion will be full and I'll be right back to doing whatever I'm doing. Like in terms of especially like the way I train, I won't be moving massive loads because I don't want to. Yeah. But I'll be back to training the way I wish I had been able to train for the past decade.
Right, but even with those lighter loads, if you're stimulating the muscle harder, then it's the same outcome.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is like I haven't been someone who's striving to move loads for a long time, so it's not like an adjustment thing to me where it was like a real hit to me. Like, oh man, like I was just doing I just benched 500 pounds 3 months ago, and now I'm fucking down to 120 pounds. Like it's fucking bullshit. Like it's not a big hit to me. I'm just more concerned about not being in pain. And I'm more concerned about, can I be active again with it? And I can already hit a bag and I can already punch straighter and like smoother with my right arm than I have in a long time. And I'm only able to move in like this phone box range that I'm talking to you in. So like I'm not throwing hooks. I can't open up and throw hooks, but like even that's getting better where I can hold this angle. I couldn't even do that before. Like my angle would be here. Yeah. And I'd be down here. But to be able to hold that and even move across my body is like, I'm happy, dude.
So just if bicep pumps, tricep pumps, chest pumps, lat pumps, all those are back.
Yeah. Well, the freakiest thing was that my bicep was so, like, I'm sure you're aware, like my arm had been so rotated in here and tucked down to guard here that my bicep wasn't firing like for a long time. It was literally atrophied to the point where like we would see like my shirt like gaping. Cause even if I trained bicep, I couldn't open up. I couldn't literally supinate the curl. I would always be like, here. So now that I can supinate, I'm like picking up 15 pounders and I'm like, whoa. And then I'm like grabbing my bicep, like, holy fuck, it's big. Yeah. I feel a whole bicep here. So I'm like jacked. I'm like, if I only need to curl 20s the rest of my life and I got a bicep, I'm fucking ready to go, man.
So knowing what you know now, without that stem cell shot, that kind of blew everything
I would have literally got surgery 5 years ago.
Really?
Yeah. Because I woke up from the surgery and the hip's different because there's a lot more impact on your body. Like I have to hold my body weight up, all this shit, right? Like I woke up from the surgery. I don't remember what was happening. I was fighting people again. I wake up every time fighting people. And so like I came back to the room and I was like, literally just like, I don't feel my shoulder. Like they gave me a nerve block, right? It didn't work at all. Like they shoved the thing in. They're like, oh, you're going to feel great. And I'm laying in the prep room and they're like, how's your arm feeling? I'm like, good. And they're like, you can lift your arm? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I don't think it worked. Like, oh, just give it another few minutes. I'm like, then they get in the operating room. They're like, can you shift yourself onto the table? I'm like, okay. And they're like, do you need help? I'm like, no. I'm like, I can feel my arm. I'm like, should I be able to feel my arm? I'm high already, right? So I'm like, I can feel my arm. They're like, no, you shouldn't. I'm like, oh, it's just like, yeah. But when I woke up, it was like, boom, 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 boom. So literally when the thumping went away and like I got up to my room, I was like, I feel like my shoulder's like where it should be now. Like it felt like always before, like it was like sliding. But then all of a sudden I'm just like, man, like I don't feel any sensation other than the actual where the pain should be. But like my shoulder felt stable right away, like instantly. And I left the hospital in like 2 hours after.
No shit. Yeah. And that was a total replacement, 100%.
It's a resurfacing and a replacement. Right. So like they basically, I'll show you after, they chop the head of your humerus off and they kind of put a cap. And they just like embed it on the top of the head where it should be. And then there's a little up in where my socket is. There's just like this kind of, I don't know what's a titanium or plastic kind of like cap that's screwed in. So it's just floating.
Now, is that like the hip where if they do resurfacing did they tell you at some point down the line, you're probably going to need a total?
No, he didn't. He just said this should be good for me because like one, it's not loaded, the joint. So it's like not like your hip where it's like pounding all the time. Plus also he had to kind of do the resurfacing with me because I have two screws embedded in my humerus from my pec tear. So he can't put a stem in the sense that like usually they put like a stem down in and have the head off. He's like, so there's no point because we're going to compromise that screw. He's like, so I'll just do this. He's like, I've done this before a million times. He's like, it's just as good. So he's like, if anything was to happen, like as you get older, we'd have to do a reverse. So they'd go in reverse way, and it's some of the reverse procedure they do to replace your shoulder. So I don't really think they put like a cap in your socket or something like that, and then there's a stem up, and it rotates the different way, like the opposite way. So, but I mean, so far so good. I've been feeling pretty good, so I'm happy I did it.
It's fucking with my head a little bit right now.
Yeah, I do it. You'll be fine.
Nah, fuck, man. I don't know. That's kind of like looking.
Because come up to Canada.
We'll see. That's what's in my head right now. I was like, well, okay, I'll ask you in 6 months. We'll see within.
You're secretly wishing bad on me.
No,
well, this turns around.
Actually, no, I'm wishing good, right? Because
we're gonna see how you do, motherfucker.
Yeah, because at some point they have to become better at doing this.
Yeah.
Like 10 years ago, 5 years ago, it was like, fuck,
no,
like no way.
It's crazy too, because I know people are like, they're just trying to give me their experience, but I'm with the fan base I have now, I'm getting all these messages from the, like, I was leading into the days of surgery, like, oh man, I hope your surgery goes better than mine. My fucking arm's still fucked. Like, motherfucker.
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
So right? I'm like, oh fuck. He's like, yeah, man, it's been 6 months. I still can't lift my elbow up. I got pain all the time. I'm like, what the fuck? And I'm like 2 weeks out of surgery. I'm like, am I supposed to feel this good or is this something wrong? I'm like, I don't know if this is good or not. Like, cause I'm literally like, I don't feel pain.
No, it's good. It's good.
Yeah, but in my mind, I'm like, is something coming down the road? Like,
but I'm just waiting for you to tell me, like, well, you know.
Well, the thing that might hamper me and that might kind of be a detriment to me is that I had a lot of issues on this side because of my pec tear. So I had a lot of adhesion, a lot of scar tissue, a lot of like, this area was not in a good shape prior to the shoulder. That's why the shoulder was bad, because of the lockdown on the pec, and it was like anatomically fucking up. Like the head of my humerus was literally falling out the back of the socket of my shoulder.
Yeah.
Like it was literally sliding out to the point where it's like, I used to tell people, I feel like my arm's hanging in the wrong spot. And the guy's like, your arm was hanging, like literally dislocating in a spot and going back in. So it's like, that's my only issue is like, I understand the shoulder's cool now, but like, is my body ready to deal with, now that that's cool, is it going to let go and let me focus on this pec shit that I used to have and like these issues I might have surrounding that? Is my body going to now let go of that, or am I still going to be restricted because of it? Because my pec, my arm, like my range of motion wasn't good because of my pec prior to the surgery. So like ideally my range of motion might not be as good as this arm, but as long as it's better than it was and I'm not in pain, that's a win for me. Because I'm not going into the surgery being like, oh, I'm going to be perfect after this. Like I have a torn pec on this side. And like I have screws in my bicep.
Maybe that's why it helped. Maybe that's why it's helping so much.
Yeah, it's holding it in.
Yeah, maybe I don't know. I'm just thinking like a meathead right now because I got a torn pec too. Same issues.
Yeah.
So man, that might be the difference between why it works for you, but it fucking didn't work for those other people.
Yeah,
they didn't have torn pecs and.
The thing is, people sent me like their X-rays of their shoulder, and I'm like I'm not a doctor or a surgeon, but that looks fucking bad. Like I don't know if you went to like a reputable dude. Like I made sure that like who I went to, Dr. Valiette, was like top dude. Like I asked everyone I know, like, you know, Dr. Khan, Dr. Khan in Toronto, I asked like Dr. Galley, I asked everybody. I'm like, send me to the best shoulder person. So I went to like see 2 different guys. And then a guy named Dr. Theodopoulos in Toronto, he's like deals with the Blue Jays and shit. Went to see him because he does shoulders. And he's like, he looked at my thing. He's like, you need a replacement. He's like, when I told him I've done it, he's like, yeah, you're done. He's like, there's no fixing that, man. He's like, that's fucked. He's like, you're not the youngest I've seen. The youngest I've seen is 17 years old, linebacker, blew out his shoulders. And he's like, but like you need that out of there. He's like, anything is an improvement to what you have. So he's like, told me like, go see Dr. Valiette. Fucking went to see him. He's like, when do you want to do it? I'm like, tomorrow. He's like, well, let's give it a month, you know, enjoy your summer. I'm like, all right, cool, man.
Yeah.
But he was cool as shit. Came up fucking, like everything has just been smooth as shit. Like it's been me listening to him, like not pushing and purposely. Same thing with my hip. I haven't been going crazy. I just had my 1-year checkup for my hip. He's like, your hip is perfect. Like what we put in, the x-rays from the month after to right now are exactly the same. Like you haven't fucking damaged this or shifted it, or it's just because I got out of that mindset of being like, hey man, like I'm not like superhuman. I do have these fake things. I need to like act accordingly. I'm not doing that again, bro. I'm not going in for a 3rd hip surgery. It's like I'll lift less weight and I'll look less jacked just so that I don't have to deal with that again. And if that's the lesson I have to learn, then I'm an asshole for it going that far. But
well, with because it's been both my hips. With my hips, I could find ways around. Like I can do this, I can do this, I can not do this. The shoulder, there until you know, I can't conceptualize ways around if it's bad. You know, if it's a bad outcome, it's like, oh, then
what do they say is wrong? Like, what do you think is wrong?
Total replacement.
But so you have no space in the joint?
None.
Cartilage is down?
Yeah. Cartilage, bone spurs.
Yeah.
You know,
get it out of there, man. You'll be good.
We'll wait and see
little BPC, little TB 500.
Yeah. Well, how much do you think that stuff helped? Did you use it for your hip too?
Yeah. I was on I don't give a fuck. I don't care what people think about me. I took a certain protocol I have a very I have a very poor affinity to Deca. Me and Deca do not get along. I don't even like myself on Deca. And that's how bad it is. Like when you know yourself to be an asshole, like you're like
really?
aware that you're an asshole. You're like, what the fuck's wrong with you? But this time, like, it's either that or I get like super anxious, and I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, but I like person I dealt with who helps me out with a lot of my shit like that. He's like, if we want this to heal and we want this to expedite and we want the soft tissue to heal and everything to like really everything to settle, you kind of need to run this for X amount of time. We need to get like maximum kind of saturation, for lack of a better word, to get these plasma levels up in your blood so that this drug really does what it's supposed to do. And I listened, and I like the first month was like whatever. And then as I creeped on further, I was like, man, I was like writing every day. I'm like, think you can stop it now? Like,
yeah.
I think it's time to get off this and switch this. I was like, because I was like, I told him, like, I feel like I'm like a woman who's menstruating right now. Like I'm seeing ads on TV and I'm like, oh God. Yes. And then I'm like, shut the fuck up, asshole, to like random people. So like, this is like an interesting fucking roller coaster ride. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to say, right? Because none of us know. Like, how would we know if the peptide's working? How do we even know if the peptide is the peptide?
Well, you don't.
Exactly.
And there's other things in there. You don't know if it's the other things.
So it's like, I hope, and I have the intention of, I'm using it the way it's said to be used, and my recovery is going better than it should be. I'm far ahead of someone else in my place that would have had the same thing done, according to everyone that I talked to. So is that the reason, or is it just maybe some like by chance I just recovered better than people? But like, I don't think like, I can't trace it back to like, oh, I started this on this day.
Yeah.
It was this bad before and then it improved. It's like, no, I was on them from the beginning. So,
well, even if it's placebo and it's working.
Yeah, well, then fine. Fuck, give me the whole bottle.
yeah, exactly.
But it's just like, it's been, that's like, I realize there's like reputable companies out there. We don't even know what's reputable. We don't know what's not. As consumers, we have no fucking clue.
Yeah. Just
because they got pretty marketing and a nice website, I don't know. Just like everyone else doesn't know, right? So it's like, you take these things and you hope it's doing well, and when it doesn't, you blame it on them, and when it does, you blame it on them, right? So
well, I suppose if you have side effects, it's something's in it.
Yeah.
That's my old school meathead philosophy.
That's the thing is like, they're like, they're like, shove the BPC as close to the wound as possible. It's like, not a fucking chance am I doing that. Why the fuck would I, like, then I'm gonna get an infection, because God knows what's in this. I hope it's what it is, but who says that should be anywhere near a healing wound, right?
Yeah,
so
no,
like,
I would be
I'm shooting this thing in my stomach, like far away.
Yes, no, I would be exactly the same way on that one.
I was like, I'm like, you guys are fucked. I'm not like being like, like,
well, then you get an abscess.
I know, I go back to the doctor. How'd this happen? Oh, this is disgusting. I'll tell you this. Your viewers will fucking want to turn off for sure now. So I had I forget what it's called, seroma. Do you know what that is? So I had this seroma fluid buildup, for people who don't know, like underneath my scar. And it was like this jiggly thing. And they're like, oh, it'll just work its way out, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, whatever. But it started freaking me out because it leaked. Like,
how big did it get?
It was probably like the size of like a golf ball, let's say. But it wasn't protruding like that. It was just like a sack underneath my scar. So I'm like, man, this is fucking stressing me out. Like, I hope it's not an infection. Like, it's not an infection. Don't worry. It was leaking clear fluid. Like, because I still had a little bit of a hole in my scar where like it was forcing fluid out of. So at the gym one day, and I was doing my exercise, and I'm like, man, I'm really sweating. I'm like, this is weird. And I'm like, I'm really sweating on my shoulder, like a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm like going in the change room. This dish was like pouring down me, like this clear kind of like orangey fluid, like nothing. It was like very watery, right? So I'm like, oh fuck, is this shit? So I go to see one of my rehab guys the next day, and he's like, I'm kind of doing like raises like this, but he's kind of working my lat and pushing further and further, and all of a sudden I hear this like a pop, and I was like, oh, my shoulder felt good, and then fucking like
it blew up.
There's water like running down to this guy's kitchen floor because I'm in his house. He's helping me. I'm like, oh my God. He's like, it's good. Get it out. I go over to the sink and my shirt's off. I put my hand like this and I pushed and it went psst, like,
oh really? Yeah.
It went flying out, like dumping out fluid, and all of a sudden it just emptied out. And my shoulder was just flat, and like it's almost literally like the scab started already. It was like, oh. And I'm like, bro, if I wasn't at your house right now and that happened, I'd be on the phone to 911. Like, I'm fucking dying. Like,
yeah. You wouldn't
so much liquid just came out of my body. And I told my doctor, I had to check him. He's like, you had a seroma? I'm like, yeah, bro. I told your fucking receptionist, like, should I come in? He's like, oh yeah, probably should have came in, but if it drained, you're cool. I'm like,
he would have just drained
awesome,
it.
man.
Yeah. You just found a way to drain it.
It was so gross, man. I was freaked out. Like, it was creepy as fuck.
Going back to the question I asked about the beginners in the gym, the things that you see that they're fucking up. Now, if it's intermediate to advanced, where do you see what errors are you seeing there? Not really errors.
I just think like we kind of touched on before, is just this obsession with like pushing the weight, and everything has to progress. The only way we can progress is via weight. Mm-hmm. And like the weight going up. It's like just connecting better and like exercise selection, like dropping exercises that don't work for you, maybe causing like you to have imbalances, or in some cases guys will literally do exercises and just have it hurt and they don't give a fuck. Like, because I'm supposed to do T-bar rows, I do T-bar rows. So I'm supposed to do barbell squats, so I do barbell squats. It's like, yeah, but your body may not be efficiently ready for that. So maybe a hack squat would be a better option, or a leg press, or whatever the fuck it is. Let's pick these movements or pick these exercises, allow us to keep progressing, not having to like just deal with getting through the workout. Especially because those guys at that level, especially when you're getting more to advanced, you've already accrued this large amount of muscle mass. Let's say you're speaking about bodybuilders. It's not about that anymore. Like, yes, it is. Like, it is. Like, if you're 270 pound pro, you know what I mean? Like, how much bigger are you really going to get? And how much, and why do you think that weight is the only way to get bigger? Like, it is, obviously we need resistance, but like, why don't we just pick out these individual body parts or sections of body parts that would need to come up? Because if I have like a shit back and all of a sudden I blow up my low lats and my erectors and my low trap, now I have a back that was twice the size, but it didn't grow. I didn't grow at all in terms of overall density. I just filled out a frame. Which as you know, on bodybuilding stage, a filled out frame with new development body parts looks like the guy gained 20 pounds in the off season. Yes. But he's the same fucking weight. He might be lighter, but like those parts are there now. Right. So I just picking your path as an advanced lifter, especially as a bodybuilder. I think the more advanced you get and getting past the intermediary, the focus needs to become on like being a bodybuilder. Like, bring up your lacking traps, bring up your outer pec, or bring up your biceps. Like, focus on these areas that need to be focused on, that are the most glaring, work with them, then shift to other ones. Like, understanding, like, I understand where this one's coming up and we're on a good path. Now I'm going to start introducing these things. It's just trying to get better at everything all at once, I think, is a futile task. Like, guys who have a shit chest, spend the year prioritizing your chest. You're still going to lift, right? You're still going to grow. You're still going to train just as hard. But I'm going to consciously make an effort to like feel my chest more, find movements and angles that work my chest better, so that I can see this one body part actually improve, that needs improving, that will literally change the way I'm viewed when I'm on stage. So when you say prioritize, what's that look like outside of what you just said? I would prioritize it in terms of like maybe learn from someone that you perceive understands the body part well, or teach yourself. And then prioritizing lift, like do it more than once a week. That body part only though. So at least you're reinforcing this movement patterning, or this new style of training, this new stimulus is being reinforced all the time. Yeah. But we're not doing it to everything. It's not like, oh, my back and my chest and my legs need to come up. Training them all twice a week. It's like, no, like, you're still going to train them hard, right? Yeah. But we got to tell our body, like, it's not that bright to be like, yeah, I really want you to understand that I want this area to be like maximally stimulated and maximally grow. So I need to like keep poking you, being like, hey, chest, not chest, legs, back. Like, and honestly, God, you're not going to recover from that work, as we know, if I'm pounding back and legs and chest twice a week. Your body's like, I only have so much to give here, dude. Yeah. Like, you're only giving me what I can work with here in terms of drugs, in terms of calorie. Like, I'm going to decide what's needed more, not you. So I don't want that decision to be too hard. I want it to be understood that it's what I'm trying to grow, right? Well, I think a key thing that you said there was for a year. Yeah. Like when... Not a month. Yeah, well, that's where I was. Not like go. My gap between shows of 3 months, like I'm going to bring my chest up. Like, no, motherfucker. Take a year and prioritize, even if it's in sections of 4 months, like, or 3 months, whatever, right? I'm going to like, this is where I'm going to really focus on chest. I'm going to learn from someone. I'm going to try new pressing. I'm going to try a completely different style of training. I'm not even going to focus on weight. I'm going to focus on contraction and feeling. Then I'm going to keep that mentality while I'm training my chest again, but I'm going to like shift my focus to getting better at these body parts so that I can become a better bodybuilder, not just like a bigger meathead.
Well, and doing it long enough for it to work.
Yeah.
Because that would be a thing that I see as the weekly prioritized body part.
It's fucking retarded. Oh, fucking, I take a day off before I do legs because, you know, I need to like, do you understand your body's still recovering from the Monday workout?
Mm-hmm.
Just because you decide that now, all these calories, though, they're going to my legs. It's like, that's not how it works. It's not how it works, dude. You making that up in your head to be like a thing that's true. That's not true. You're inside your body would yell back at you. Are you an idiot? What the fuck you talking about? Like, I'm still trying to heal this fucking back workout. You still fuck me up back here. Like, I have nothing to give you for that leg workout.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I got nothing for you. Just because you slammed all these calories in doesn't mean like, oh, your body's sitting there with a shovel waiting to like throw fuel on coal on a fire, like back time.
So going back to the intermediate beginners, they shouldn't prioritize a body part, right? Because they need to build, you know, that base to begin with.
Yeah. But I mean, I think their focus should just be on like, let's become efficient at movements that we can get really good at, and we can carry those movements, like just keep growing, keep getting better at them, right? Don't focus on all these movements. Like yes, you can trial these movements, but like you're going to know pretty quick. Like I feel a lot better doing a hammer strength incline press than I do doing dumbbells. I don't feel anything, but I'm able to like feel the hammer strength better. Okay. So chop the other thing out. Like, let's stick to the stuff that works, that we feel that actually causes us to feel sensation and stimulation. And let's just get rid of the rest of the shit. Maybe one day you'll come back to and you'll be like, man, I tried dumbbells again and they feel a lot better. But that's because your mechanical pathways are better on pressing on angles, because you actually were working on like fixed lines for a long time.
Yeah.
So now you understand how to feel free weights better, or the opposite. It could be like, I don't feel shit on that hammer strength thing because all I do is jerk my shoulders around. But when I have a dumbbell in my hand, I feel a lot more stretch. I feel a lot more contraction, right? That's like just the intermediate guys. I mean, the beginner guys, I would just say, find a path, like find a good coach, find someone like you, or find someone like any of these guys out here who can set you on the path of like these core lifts, being really good at them. And then let's sprinkle in the new stuff here and there. Understanding that the movement patterns and what we've developed over the core lifts will carry into these other movements, because they're not much different. They're just different angles, different like lengths of let out, whatever it might be, right? So
yeah, see, the question I was going to ask is what would be those core movements they should try to focus on to become better, but you kind of answered it, which would be the ones that they feel it the most on, because it may not be it probably isn't going to be a barbell row if it's lats.
Yeah. It's going to be different for every person. Like, I'm sure you've seen guys in the gym. Everyone's seen guys in the gym. They're just like for barbell rows, for example, they might just be animals. Mm-hmm. And that angle for them is no problem for them to hold that posture and like maintain a like stiff neck and like lock down in their lower back and erectors and just row a beautiful row. But like that guy should stick to that because he feels it. He's like, yeah, man, I got a crazy back pump from those rows. Like I feel fucking fantastic. Whereas the other kid who trains with is like, fuck, man, this is horrible. It's like, well, he needs to go find maybe a low cable row, because he needs a fixed chain of movement where he's not having to balance his body weight, because maybe he has shitty hamstrings or poor lower back development. Like he can't hold postures, right?
Yeah.
But doing the cable row, after a while, the low cable row might lock him down in those positions. Then it transfers in his mind, oh, this is no different than the cable row. I just need to go a little lighter and like acclimate to moving the weight. But there's no difference. Like I'm still moving the same way through the weight. I think just like I said, like different people have to find what works for them and then allow that movement to carry over into other things. Just doing lifts for lift's sake is stupid as shit to me.
When would they consider the body part done?
What do you mean?
Let's say they're training lats or the back, right? And so for some, it could be 7 movements, which it shouldn't be, you know, but if they're going to focus on these 2 movements or whatever it's going to be, you know, they could train for 2 hours doing all these.
I think the best advice you can give, and it's pretty vague to be honest, but I can't help but not be, is like, we're just trying to stimulate. We're not trying to annihilate. I don't want to go till I don't feel anything. I don't want to go till like I start to understand like my lats are no longer something I feel because they're so burnt that now I'm just on trap and like upper back and I'm just ripping weight for the sake of rip. And it's going to be hard for people because when you're in that phase, you think more is better. But I would argue with them that you should almost be training less at that point, in the sense that like I just want to stimulate, and that stimulation period will get longer because you're going to get better and you're going to get acclimated to the work, right?
Yes.
But over time, it's like those sessions will become longer. It's like if I train a beginner nowadays or like a kid who comes to train with me, I only need to train you for a half hour. You signed up for an hour and we're going to make an hour work, but like you need a half hour. That's it. Because you're done. Like, especially on a body part like chest or back that they haven't really like engaged before, you can see like the life has left the body. There's no, everything's a fucking in between sets. It's like, it's okay. Well, like it's okay for it to only be that little stimulation because the body's going to respond in accordance to that. Like, it's like, it was stressful as fuck.
Yeah.
And the body, and if anything, you're doing less work. So quicker recovery. Let's come back in next week. Let's stimulate again. The reps might go up. We might do one more set. We might do one more exercise just to get used to acclimating to something else. But like this slow progression of building up to like this long-term training session is what is ideal, I think, for bodybuilders.
Yeah. Well, I'm putting it out there because of the pendulum between the high volume and low volume. So HIIT training and high volume training.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a big fan of volume training, but I think it's within that person's parameters of what that might be for them. Like if they don't have any background of training, high volume might be 3 sets of 4 exercises of 10. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, that's a lot for them. But like, when I get new people, I always it's always just like, how do you train normally? And they'll tell me, and I'll be like, okay, well, we're going to do this today. And let's just see how that goes. And then they can they already have a base of what they do. And then how they have what I do. So it's like, you can kind of blend things together. I'm not going to tell you how to train. Yeah. But like, let's take what felt good, but let's also understand, like, I try to let people understand, like, this is where it should end. This is where the session should end, but we're going longer because we're teaching today, or I'm showing you stuff, or like whatever it is. But like, it's just like, understand you have an envelope of like what you have available to you that day neurologically and like muscle function wise. Like if I'm emptying that all, then I need to just leave and come back and understand that later on I might have more work that's available to me or more energy. Right. So, yeah.
Well, their work capacity will increase as they train. So it will build up from there.
But I think we get on the flip side of that, we get to like these advanced people, especially like pro bodybuilders. I've seen them in my gym and all over the place, and they're training for like 2.5 hours. That's ridiculous. Like, you're not getting anything out of that other than you just like don't want to go home.
Well, are they really though? Or are the rest periods super long and there's a shit ton of
it's almost like this, like it becomes like this elongated like muscle like massage session where I'm just like, just give me a little stimulus and I just chill out, and then I get a little stimulus and I chill out, and it's like this lackadaisical, like I'm just here doing shit. Whereas like if you had condensed that 2.5 hours into an hour, you really would have had a workout. Like, you would have been pumping like crazy, right? It's just, some people, everyone's different, but I would rather just get in and get the fuck out, like get the work done and leave, right? So understanding where that is for you is hard though, because I have to understand, like, am I done or do I have a little more in me? And that fine line of finding that sweet spot is where like really good lifters happen, right? Yes. So it's just, there's no one that can tell you because no one can feel what you feel. But as a person training an individual, like I'm sure you can see a guy you put him through like hell and you're like, that's good,
you can
man.
see it. They can't maintain position.
Yeah. You're good now, man. Like we're falling apart now. Like, let's just stick to like this positive shit before we start slipping into the negative, and then we lose some of that positive. So let's just build up to like a peak and get the fuck out. That's how I approach training sessions with most people, is like I'm building to, like, for the lack of a better word, a pump, or like a feeling of like exhaustion. I'm building to that, and then I'm getting out. I'm not letting the peak start to fall. Yeah. I'd rather get you up to a point where it's like almost like feverish intensity. Like, I don't know if I really want to do another set. It's like, okay, that's when we're leaving. Like,
we're done. So the number of work sets are going to be not defined either. No. Right. Because you know what 3 movements or whatever have to be done through that session. So if you burn yourself out too much on the first movement, the third one that's why pointless.
I kind of I structure workouts in terms of like leading to like, it's like telling a good story. There's going to be like exciting stuff in the story, but we're going to reach the end and the story's done. Right. So it's not like going to be a boring, monotonous story. Where like, I went to the store. It's like, there's like this happened and that happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like all these events did happen, but we got to where we got to go and we didn't get fucking sidetracked and stop reading the book halfway through.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Have you seen the onslaught of Mentor HIIT training methods come through?
I think that's just people trying to be lazy. I think it's just like younger kids trying to be like, oh, I don't need to put in as much work. So I do one hard set of everything or whatever they think his training is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they understand what it is, but when you see them interpret it, it's like, oh, I just do one warm-up set, one working set, and then I move on to the next thing. I do this and this. As Dorian Yates, Mike Mentor. I'm like, guys, you don't understand what they're doing. Like, and they also, he's coming from a background of being so advanced at what he does that pretty much anything he would do would work. Like he could just decide like, now I do German volume training. And like I do 10 sets of 10. But today I want to do like anything could work. You know what I mean? It's I don't know. It's like we talked about before, people finding old shit and now saying it's new.
Yeah, that was one that I've been patiently waiting for the pendulum to swing that way because over my life, it's been like 5 times. It's like here, and it's whenever it comes back, just generalize it as HIIT training. It's always called something different. Yeah. Then it goes to the volume, then it will go here, then it goes. And it's been like volume for a long fucking time. Yeah. And then just recently, and I find it odd that most of the content I was seeing around it was, with all due respect, dead people. Right. Yeah. So it was like Mentor videos or Arthur Jones. It's like
they can't tell you what they were thinking.
Well, yeah.
We can't ask their opinion. They're not around anymore.
Well, where's the people doing it now?
Yeah.
Right. So that was the one because that's normally how it will happen is like somebody's going to pop up and normally it would be a pro that was doing a really high volume for a long period of time. Yeah. Then they switch over. Then they start making progress again just because it's a different stimulus. They've been doing the other shit for 10 years.
That's what I'm saying. So if we understand that progress is made with new stimulus, why are we not just blending styles together?
See, I was hoping that was happening.
And why can't we just like on this lift, I usually kind of do more of a high intensity. And then for these like kind of other lifts where I'm just like, I'm focusing more on pump and like, it can all be done in the same workout. Yeah. It doesn't need to be relegated to like, I only do this or I do this. It's like a good bodybuilder does all of it.
Yeah. And I think the reason why it wasn't coming back is I started thinking people figured that out.
No, they didn't.
We didn't come back for that long either. Cause I think it kind of went away already, didn't it?
Yeah.
I don't see it as frequently as I did like a month ago. Yeah. It was like boom, boom, boom. And now it's like gone. I'm like, okay, so did this only last a month?
Yeah. It's almost like there's like a bot out there, an algorithm that's just like literally just spewing out what's going to hit. Yeah. Let's just see, like, remember this? It's like, and it's either picked up or it's not. And so they come up with something else, right? Mm-hmm. Like could be a new way of dieting, a new breakthrough supplement. Like it's always, there's something new because I train a lot of lifestyle people. It's for lack of a better word, just regular people. Mm-hmm. And they're not in this bodybuilding world, but they're into working out. They're into being in shape and muscle. And every time they come in, did you hear about Ashwagandha? Mm-hmm. Or did you hear about this? Did you hear about cold plunges? I heard if you take this, it's fucking great. I'm like, what the fuck, man? Like, it doesn't do that. Like, it's not like you haven't been missing out. And like, this is the like missing key ingredient to why you're not looking the way you want to look. It's just like, you can't understand that it's just consistency over time. And whether you want that to be high intensity training, where you do volume training, you want it to be whatever, it's just the consistency that we need.
Yes.
So do what you want to do, but be consistent about it and have purpose.
And stick with it for a long enough period of time.
Or like if you're someone that's attention span is like really low, like give yourself periods like, oh, I'm going to do this for a month and I'm going to do volume for a month. Like give yourself that freedom to do that. Mm-hmm. So you're not bored, but like understand it works regardless, especially if you have any slight bit of talent or ability to build muscle. You can train however you want, dude.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It doesn't fucking matter. I've seen like the biggest guys in the world, massive pro bodybuilders, like train, like if you look at them, like they look like they're sleepwalking. Like a bicep curl is like not a sound coming out, not a fucking grunt, not a drop of sweat. Arms are like 24 inches. Just like,
yeah.
I'm going to do presses, 4 plates on each side. Walk around the gym, walk the fuck out.
It's fucking frustrating.
It works, man. Some people have it, some people don't, right? Yeah. Like some of us have to work a lot harder for it. Other people have to barely work at all.
Yeah.
So
You guys are selecting Marek for your telehealth platform needs. They have a couple different ways that they go about doing this. The first is through a self-selected experience. There's a table talk panel, which is the full panel. That would be the panel that I personally get twice a year. That's checking everything. You name it, it's all there. The other panel is a checkup panel with a guided optimization. You're connected with a patient care coordinator, and the patient care coordinator will meet with you to determine what your needs are, thing to be able to help optimize your health or mitigate without judgment. So the discount code again is Table Talk Marek Health for all your hormone optimization and performance needs.
This is Dave Tate from Elite FTS. Last year, we partnered with Ken Kanakin to co-host the Swiss Symposium. It's built on hypertrophy and sport medicine for strength athletes and practitioners to come together in one place, which will be the Columbus Hilton at Easton. You are going to learn how to level up your training based upon the success and failures of others. You have to stay on top of your game if you want to be able to make the success and move forward at the pace that you want. Just to name a few of the presenters that will be presenting, we're going to have Matt Winning, Brian Carroll, Eric Serrano, Jim Wendler. That's just a few. These experts will be presenting on low back injury and prevention, exercise selection, as well as a business, steroid recovery, and restoration panel. If you want to network with one of the experts that we have presenting, we're going to have people there to be able to help you do that. To register for the Swiss Symposium, go to the elitefts.com website, look for the banner on the homepage, click that, we'll see you there.
One of the ways that you can support the podcast is by purchasing or picking up our limited edition apparel. The shirt that I have on right now is one of the only shirts that we've brought back for a second time. Normally we'll never do that, but the only reason we brought this one back for a second time is it sold out within 6 hours. So we brought this one back. We also got a second one that we just dropped. It's our, I guess, just Halloween edition shirt. Go to elitefts.com or go to the link in the description. This really does help us out because this directly supports the Table Talk podcast. Thank you guys. Enjoy the show. We're back. So you just mentioned you're going to have a booth at the Olympia.
yeah, gonna host a bunch of people and just hang out and cause trouble, pretty much. I got a pretty cool setup. Like, a buddy of mine's bringing a old school muscle car, kind of trying to leave it up in the air for now. People don't know what it is, but it's going to be wrapped with like W's and.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's going to be pretty cool. So
how was that? 2 booth spaces then?
Yeah, we got an island, so we're it was 20 by 30. Does that sound right?
Yeah, if you're going to have a wrapped car.
Yeah.
That'd probably be about right.
Yeah. So I'm just going to be selling merch. I'm not into supplements just yet.
Yeah.
But it's nice to just kind of want to always, like, I think the way I see what's wrong with a lot of the booths and the expos is it doesn't feel authentic in the sense that, like, you know, like you're line. I understand you have to line up to meet someone because it would be chaos if you didn't have a line. But it's like you're not really getting to spend time with people and you're not getting to interact with people. I want to have more like people can just come by and say what's up. Like, yeah, if there needed to be a lineup, which I don't think there'll need to be a lineup to meet me. It's like I just want people to just come up and they can chill in the booth, take pictures of the car. Like, Fuad and Paul and Ian are going to be down there with me, and like there's other people in the industry that I like have respect for. I just a place for everyone to hang out. Like,
are you sharing a booth with him, or
no? I just come to support. Yeah. Are
they having a booth there?
No.
Okay.
So I think Fuad and Hostile are they're aiming to have a booth, like a pretty big booth at the Arnold. So
this will be your first time having a booth.
Yeah, I've been in booths, like when I was at the Animal. I was in the Animal Cage, and when I used to be with HD Muscle a few years ago, I was down in their kind of booth with them. But I just kind of felt like it's always this, like, these weird interactions where it's like I don't like people. Like, I feel weird standing there and making people like want to like wait to talk to me. Just come and be like, hey man, like take a picture and talk shit and walk away. Like,
yeah,
it's like an odd thing to me. I understand why people do it, because like if you had fucking Kai Green or Jay Cutler, they got 300 people around them. It's very difficult for you to like manage that, right? So how are you going to counter that? I mean, what is your plan? I don't know. It's probably going to turn into a real shit show because we're just not going to have much order there.
Yeah.
But it's just my personality. Like, I might have it be like I'll I'll be there from certain times to certain times, but it's not going to be like I'm there for an hour every day and you got to wait for me. It's like, I'm just going to be there.
Yeah.
Then I might take a break for lunch and come back and hang out. But I don't know. I want to be able to meet all the people that are cool with me and that fuck with what I do and just at least have a moment with them to be like.
But that might be the difference right there, because if you're there all the time,
yeah,
right, where normally if it's, you know, a fitness celebrity or whatever, they're there for an hour or two. Mm-hmm. It's like a scheduled time, which just makes it more of a clusterfuck, right?
Yeah.
Because then everybody's going to just pile up.
Yeah. I mean, I think it'd just be cool to like we're not, even if you're a fitness person or you're a Mr. Olympia or you're like an influencer, at the end of the day, you're just a person. You're not like, I'm not someone you should be lining up to meet. Like, I'm just a person that you can come and talk to anytime, right? Like,
yeah.
And to like have yourself kind of put yourself on that pedestal is like, I don't really know what that does to someone's psyche. It's kind of like, to me, it's weird. I don't really like it. It makes me feel awkward.
Well, you've been around long enough. I mean, you see how it happens. Like, people will start with the intention of going just to thank the people that support you. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of why you're there. It's like they can put a face to it, you know, a screen or whatever the fuck it is.
Yeah.
And then 5 years later, if they're not used to, you know, this small degree of fame or whatever it is, then their head fucking explodes. But you've been around people.
Yeah. Well, I've been around.
You know what I'm saying? You've been around people with a lot more fame than any of these fucking people are ever going to have.
That's why it's very odd to me. Like it's like I worked for who I worked for and guarded who I guarded. And it's just like, there's no amount of like hysteria or like at one of these expos that could ever compare to like what I've been in the middle of. Mm-hmm. So it's just like,
God, could you imagine if you grew to that though?
Oh fuck! I don't. I'd be moving out to the country, or I'd be living beside you out here.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I don't think it should ever get to that. But
I don't think anybody in this sport has ever. Well, Arnold.
Yeah. Well, maybe. Bumstead too is pretty.
Yeah.
You can't go anywhere. But I mean, it's like it's very odd though, because it's like you. Like even with even if you have this massive popularity within this world of bodybuilding, let's say, as soon as you take a step outside of that world, people don't know you.
No, not at all.
Like even if I'm talking, you're the most popular person in the sport. Let's say you're Jay Cutler at your prime. People will know who Jay is because they're like, that's a fucking huge dude I've never seen with muscle like that walking around. What does he do? But like as soon as you leave that expo, like say you're in Vegas, and you leave that expo and say you went down the strip 3 miles to a random restaurant, no one knows.
Nobody gives a shit.
They're just like,
yeah, they're not asking for autographs at Costco.
You're not getting stopped everywhere. That's the difference, right? Whereas like if you're reached true celebrity status or true like whatever status, like you can't go anywhere without some type of arrangement being made that you'll be able to do what you need to do and get out of there safely or without being bothered, right? So my comparison is to that now. So I'm just like, this isn't like anything.
Yeah.
Crazy. Like, and I'll never, that's not that level of whatever will never be what I have to deal with. So I'm like, anything less than that, I'm like, oh, hey man, what's up? What's up?
Well, at this point, you're just like, I hope some people show up.
Yeah. It's just like, fuck, if 10 people come say hi, I'll be like, cool, man. Hope you buy a hoodie too, hang out.
Mm-hmm. When did you, become, I don't know if you call it a member. Like, when did you start participating in the bro chat?
I don't know when it actually started. It started off of who had invited me on. It was a weird thing. A girl that I work with who kind of acts as an agent for me. She had sent an email out, like not knowing that we actually knew who each other were, and was like, "Oh, Mike should have Mike on, blah blah blah." And he wrote me, he's like, "Why don't you just ask to be on if you want to be on?" And I didn't know that she wrote him that. Mm-hmm. I'm like, "Well, I'll come on then if you want me." He's like, "Okay, well, come on then." I'm like, "Okay." So we kind of had our first one-on-one interview and we were just like shooting the shit and had a lot in common. And he had this misconception that I didn't like him for some unknown reason. I know why now, because this industry is full of people who just gossip and talk shit and make stuff up. So
yeah,
one of those birds was chirping in an ear and was telling a narrative that wasn't true. And I was like, I never felt that way at all. In fact, the only interaction I'd had with him prior to talking to him then was a good interaction where he saw me backstage at a guest posing and was like super complimentary of my physique and how I looked. He was like, and I remember it vividly because I was like, that's cool, man. Like, because I looked up to Fuad when I was coming up because he was like very successful when I was trying to get to that level, right? So I'm like, no, man, I I've only had good things to say. We both hated the same guy at the time. So we were like, we're
mutual
friends.
enemy.
Yeah, mutual enemy. So then I came on the one time, and then I think he wrote me like that week and was like, would you be willing to come on Bro Chat? And at the time I had a history. I knew Guy's sister Nino I used to live in New Jersey, and we just had mutual friends, and we had met a few times and kind of talked over the years. So I'm like, yeah, come on. And it ended up just going from there. I had a good time. It actually became something I looked forward to. Well, still it is. I look forward to it every week because I go to work, I train my people, and I go home.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's my life. And it's not like I don't like that, that's just what I choose to do. And I'm in my happy space when I'm just like, I like to work. I like to work hard. I like to go home, be around my girlfriend, be around my dogs, do my own thing, be quiet. So it was like my opportunity to talk to other people like that were kind of interested in the same stuff as me and came from the same backgrounds I found out and had the same kind of thought process. So I was like, oh, this is cool as shit. You know what I mean? Like, and I'll keep doing it. And it just kind of grew into what it grew into. And I've always told them, like, I don't expect to be on there. Like, I mean, if you ever want to tell me to fucking take a hike, I'm not going to be like, oh my God, you fucking hate me now. Like, I'm like, I totally understand. Like, this is a thing. This is your thing. And that you've built a great thing here. And I always tell them, like, you've built something. I don't think you see the magnitude of it because you're kind of living it. But like people on the outside really gravitate to that shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I've received a lot of people that started following me because of that or paid attention to what I'm doing because of that. So I've always told him I'm grateful for that opportunity to like show another side of my personality other than like what I show on Instagram, like where I'm not like, I don't walk around
ranting
agitated at the world. Like I'm just talking about what I'm talking about. And then I like turn the camera off and I'm just could switch to another subject.
Yeah.
But that's how I am all the time. Like if something gets me going, I'll talk about it. And then as soon as I don't care about it anymore, I just talk about something else. Like I'm not walking around looking like, what could I be bad at now? I mean, like, so it just allowed people to kind of see like, oh, he's not like this dude who hates everybody all the time. It's like, I'm pretty relaxed most of the time when people meet me.
Did you find that you have to follow the sport closer now?
No, I choose not to. I purposely don't.
Okay, so it gets that outside opinion then.
Yeah, I mean, I shouldn't say that. I follow the sport when it comes to like the top guys, but when it comes to obscure guys, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but like guys who are coming up who I don't really have a radar on because you're not top guys. I was never a top guy, so it's not a slam on you, but like I just don't pay attention to it. You know what I mean? So it's just because I don't have I kind of get comments like this all the time. I was going to talk about it next time on Bro Chat because there's like when they start getting into like deep bodybuilding talk about like kind of like lesser known guys, but they know a lot about them.
Yeah.
I've never even heard of them. I'm like, you gotta show me a picture. I don't know who that is. I don't mean to be rude, but like people, you ever notice Mike's completely disinterested when they start talking about bodybuilding? Yeah. And I'm just like, well, I am, but I'm not. Like I just don't have much to contribute because I don't understand it. It's like me and you watch football. I'm not aware of what's happening in the arena league. Yeah. But I like football. Mm-hmm. But I know who the fuck I know who like Patrick Mahomes is and shit. I don't know who the quarterback is for this arena league team. Like, but I can still have an appreciation for it, right? Mm-hmm. So it's just like that's kind of where I catch some flack on that. But I think it also it's also kind of different from the rest of the guys because I don't. Like I'm not so in tune with the sport.
I think it adds value because you're not, right?
Yeah. And like I've always loved bodybuilding, not because I don't love bodybuilding because of the show that is bodybuilding, like competitions. I love bodybuilding because I love muscle and like building muscle and working out and training. That's what I love. I don't care. I don't really give a shit about what happens on stage. Mm-hmm. It's just a byproduct of the muscle and the training and you get to see what happens with it. Right. Yeah. But I'm not like, I don't get genuinely invested like, oh man, fuck. I really hope that so-and-so pulls it off this year. I'm just like, cool. Like, yeah, I just rather focus on like how to train better, how to develop better. Like that shit gets me off more than seeing so-and-so 5 weeks out and being like, oh, like, yeah, I don't get jacked. Yeah. I don't get that jacked up to see dudes in their underwear. Like I just don't.
Well, that's how I am with the whole powerlifting thing too. Like I don't care about the meat and it would take so much time to be able to follow all the guys that are at the top of every federation and then who's coming up and then who's not. So it's, but the reason I ask is because if that is what they're expecting you to do, then that's a lot of time that you?
No, I mean
spend?
they've always just been. I mean, Fuad's always just been cool with like me contributing what I contribute. And I mean, if one day he came where he's like, "Oh man, I kind of need someone who's a little more like in depth in the sport and kind of embedded," then I just simply be like, "That's not me though." Like,
they already have that.
Yeah,
I think it would just oversaturate.
Yeah, especially like guys like Ian. Ian just retired, but Ian's like, he's a true like aficionado of the sport of bodybuilding. Like Ian, when Ian talks about physiques and like he gets into the intricacies of stuff, like even I'm like, man, this guy really loves bodybuilding. Like he just lives and breathes it, right? Like in terms of even his critique of people or his assessment of physiques, I'm like, man, like I get it. Like I'm into it too, but like he's into it, right? So they gotta have all these dynamics. Like Paul's a judge. Fuad was a very, very good pro. Ian was a very, very good pro. Fuad kind of guides stuff, and Ian's very good at like assessing people. So is Paul. Like they all are, and I'm kind of just like, yeah, man, I see how this could be better, or that could be better, or you should do this or do that.
The one I just listened to was that. I don't know what the top 5 they were a session, but it's like Ian was, oh my god, like this is like next level shit. Like I'm kind of like tuned out, just waiting for you to say something, right? Because that's where the voices fit different people, right? Because that's like deep into the sport, like, and him and Paul going back and forth, his placings and all this other kind of stuff, and I'm like, but
the thing is, even when I was bodybuilding, I never cared. Like I would be aware of who was good and like who were the top guys, and I would have immense respect for them. And I'm like, oh man, I'm fucking never gonna look like that. What the fuck am I doing here, right? Like, but I just like I enjoyed. Like I was talking about food this a week ago. Like I just enjoyed being a fucking big dude with muscle, and like I enjoyed the drugs. I enjoyed the fucking eating that came along with it. I enjoyed like the training and like finding new ways to train and trying different styles, and that shit got me off more than ever standing on stage did. Like I didn't give a fuck about it. Like when I won shows and I got my pro card, I was like, this is fucking awesome. And when I got to the pros, I was like, I'm never going to be able to stand up here. Like, I'm just going to go keep lifting. And I got a lot more enjoyment out of training people and helping people put on muscle and like develop properly and playing with angles and seeing things and like figuring out like kind of hacking ways to like help people develop better. That's like, if that happens in my mind and I make that connection, I'm jacked.
You don't get into the nutrition side of it and the people you help, do you?
No. I used to diet people here and there for shows that, like back in the day when I thought in order for me to be a trainer, I had to do both. But I had no enjoyment out of it. And like, I'm a hypocrite because I don't eat well. So I'm not going to fucking sit back and tell you to like, oh, you should do this and that. And I'm like munching on a fucking donut. Like, I mean, it's like, I also don't have like, you need to be just as like in depth or just as interested as I am in movement and like training. You need to have that mindset for eating and food to be really good at it. And I don't have that deep interest in it, right? Like I understand the basics. I could definitely give someone a program to follow diet wise and they could get in better shape. And like, I would understand their macros and do all this shit, but like, I don't want to. I have no desire like to hear someone bitch about their food or, oh, now you're having 200 grams of rice. And like, now you do this. Like, it's obnoxious to me. Like, it's really obnoxious, man.
Now, when you were coming up in bodybuilding, not when you were closer to turning pro, but just coming up, how tight was the nutrition in the off season then?
Loose as a goose.
So basically eating whatever you needed to eat to grow. Okay. And then it would tighten down for a show.
Yeah, literally just flick a switch.
All right. Did that ever become more strict after you got your pro card?
No. I mean, back when I was competing, I would get heavy, but I would never get heavy to the point where I was like sloppy. So even if I ate like subpar, I would still be pretty tight. So I was just like, I'm going to eat how I want to eat. I would be conscious of trying to get certain things in, like hitting a protein goal or getting close to it. But like in the off season, all I wanted to do is pound carbs, like constantly. Like I could literally eat like carbs all day, every day, nonstop. But like eating protein, I'd be like, oh, damn it.
Yeah.
Like, unless it's a burger, which is in a carb. I mean,
like, it's wrapped around a carb, so, and sometimes you got to have 3 burgers in the carbs.
Yeah. So I'm like, Yeah, I mean, looking back, I don't think it would have made much of a difference in terms of my physique. So, but guys coming up, for me to tell you to eat a certain way, or like, that's why there's a lot of hoopla now about Sam Sulik and the way he eats and all this stuff. And I met Sam yesterday. He's a super nice kid. It's just like, we all did that shit. So why the fuck are you harping on it? Like,
yes,
you guys stand up on your high horse and you're like, oh, I don't do that. It's like, you don't remember being 21? You don't remember being 19, 18 and just fucking pounding food and like hitting the gym and being huge and not being like, oh, what's in this exactly? Like,
oh yeah.
I never did. I was just like, whatever. Like,
well, I wonder how many that are bitching about it. Or they're probably doing the same shit.
Yeah.
Themselves.
They did it before.
Well, currently they're doing the same shit.
Yeah.
Like they're swapping macros and stuff like that. So it's an interesting one there, because if he's got room to build on his diet and with training, obviously he's got room to build with his training and stuff like that, but he's making progress. Like if we could like force him, which isn't going to happen because we just said earlier that when we were the person on the other side of the table, we're like, fuck you, whatever. But if you fixed all that now, then I think you hurt his back end.
Yeah.
Like let him grow doing this stuff. Like then when he starts to stagnate, then tighten things up a little bit.
Well, yeah. Let it just be a natural progression. Maybe him or someone like him just decides like all of a sudden, you know what, I think I should shift more to this. Like I didn't need your coaxing to do it, but like I think now I'm gonna like, because I don't feel as good on this food, or maybe it's not doing the same thing it used to do for me. I'm bored of eating this shit. Let's kind of switch to whatever we're doing. But like when I was his age, I didn't even know what I was doing. I was like fresh out of college and fucking didn't give a shit. Like I was just pounding gear and fucking working out hard and eating burgers and pancakes.
Oh yeah.
It was like, I don't know. There's this whole culture now in bodybuilding where it's like you've made food an enemy. Like food is not to be enjoyed anymore. Like if you enjoy your food or you eat stuff you enjoy, like you're somehow cheating yourself or going to kill yourself. It's like, guys, just eat food. At the end of the day, everything that you're talking about is food.
So that's what I hear and I see it, but then I still question, are they really fucking doing it?
Well, probably not. It's so, like, do as I say, not as I do, right?
Yeah. Or pretend like I do this all the time where I really don't. Yeah.
But then like you have the flip side, like there's guys like Ian, I've been around Ian. He does not stray. Like in the short times I've known him before he retired, we went away to a cottage together. Like he came up to Windsor to visit Fuad. Like every meal, boom, 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 like robotic. No temptation to do other things, and it was like simple for him, right? But that's his personality type. Yeah. So if the other person doesn't, you have to wonder whether that's going to do that person's psyche if you force them into a state of being they're not wanting to be in. Like we're all used to like, oh, we do this and then we hunker down for the 4 months or whatever for a show.
Yeah.
So we know there's this finite period where we have to be dedicated to something. And then after that, we can kind of just be freer. But to live like that all the time, what does that do to someone's psyche? Like it takes away motivation.
Yeah.
And I'm just fucking bored. I don't want to fucking do this anymore. I want to eat this goddamn meal. I want to have something that tastes good, or at least I deem to taste better than this. So like you should have the freedom to do that. You shouldn't be afraid to. Like you tell these kids, like if you tell these kids like, oh, like I'll tell them today, I had on the way here, I had a fucking iced coffee and I had 2 chocolate chip cookies from Starbucks. They'd be like, was it a cheat meal? I'm like, no, it's just a meal. Literally, I just use it as a meal that I ate. It was just food.
Yeah, I was hungry.
I wouldn't even call it a meal. I just ate food.
Yeah, I was hungry.
Well, what is it in your what is your macros? Like, no idea. Not a fucking clue. Like I eat when I'm hungry and I eat till I'm full.
Yeah.
It's like I don't understand why everyone's like they've even made eating food complicated. They've made it less enjoyable because people have to think to themselves, is this a clean meal or is this a cheat meal? Was this a cheat meal? I'm like, no, man. I just ate.
A cheat meal.
I wanted a sandwich because it looked fucking good and I ate it. And there happened to be chicken on it and fucking mayonnaise. Yeah. And I'm like, and now I'm not full. I'm not hungry anymore.
It's the industry is always surprising me because there's always right when you think there's nothing that can surprise you, you're like, oh, this is interesting. Like for decades, we've all been saying the basics are what matter. Consistency, training hard, getting the fucking food to grow. Yeah. But all of a sudden now, no, that doesn't matter. The nuance does.
Yeah.
you know, it's all about the nuance of all that. Fuck all the other stuff.
Yeah.
You know, because if there's one thing he's consistent.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, I see these kids, like, it's funny you say that. I see like people in the gym I'm at now, and it's gyms everywhere. So I'm not like picking on specific people who go to that gym, but like they're in that beginner to intermediate range where they're like, they've just discovered this, like they're maybe very dedicated and serious, but they've just discovered this like sport, and they're going to compete or they're going to do whatever. And all they're focused on is the nuance. That's it. Like they don't understand. You don't understand the sport. You don't understand working out, but you've got the nuances down perfect. Like,
good luck with
I
that.
need to like, I do my kickbacks like this, and I write down all the stuff. It's like, you haven't even worked hard.
Mm-hmm.
In order for the nuance to work, hard work must have happened before.
Yeah.
And must still be happening.
That's why it's called nuance.
Yeah. You're adding something to something, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't just like, I just focus on the details of this huge thing. So I'm just going to stare at the pillar on the ceiling, not knowing there's a building around it.
Yeah.
And like all this equipment, like it's this dumbest thing ever. And like, but I think it's this internet and this like TikTok and Instagram world where they're always looking for, again, that new thing, or what's going to cause the biggest difference is this thing. But it's like, you've missed the whole picture. You're looking at the speck of dust on this pad and missing all this.
Mm-hmm.
And thinking that this speck of dust is going to carry you through. Like,
it's amazing. It's amazing.
It's crazy, man.
It is amazing me, because that's just now started to happen.
It's like we are sitting here right now, and the guy comes into deadlift and he starts talking about his grip. He's never picked up a bar.
Yeah.
No, but they say that this is the over under. Oh yeah, I mean people, and then there's this, and you're like, pick the fucking bar up, dude.
Yeah.
Like, you've never lifted a bar. You've never even held it in your hand, and you're worried about how you're going to grip it. Can you even pick it up to begin with? Like,
yeah,
it's crazy, man. Like the world, sometimes I literally think that the world's gone nuts, and like, I don't know what's happened in fitness, but we've just decided that this is so simple and so basic, but also so intricate when you really look at it, but it's simple. It's very simple, that we have to make it more complicated, or people won't respect us. Like, they'll think we're just meatheads. They'll think we're just stupid people who lift weights and do drugs. Like, we have to give this extra, like, we have to make this so complicated and so nuanced that the outside community of bodybuilding is like, very intelligent people. Super intelligent. Look how they approach that. It's like, I just pushed the bar up and down.
Yeah.
That's all I did. I would take testosterone, and I got big.
Yeah.
That's all it is. You can explain it in other ways.
I know. If you look around, the majority of the people in gyms, though, who probably aren't posting on social media and shit like that, they're all doing the right thing.
Yeah.
So that's how I wrap it around my head.
Yeah.
All we're really seeing there is the minority.
Yeah.
Like the vocal minority.
I just see that in like younger people though, because I'm in a gym that is a lot of younger people. So I'm not around like people my age a lot, like, and not experienced people. So I see how this way of thinking is like infiltrating their mind. And I can see how that way of thinking is going to lead them to a path of not giving a fuck about this anymore, because it's going to get so complicated and so convoluted in their mind that the difficulty of it, there's so much going on. They're just going to be like, fuck it. I don't fucking want to do this anymore. Like, it's like a parent who like badgers their child about like getting better at a sport. Like, you need to fucking work on your hockey. You just get your skating. And by the time the kid starts, he starts at 6 years old. By the time he gets to 12, he doesn't want to fucking go near an ice rink ever again in his life.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to happen to these people. They're going to get so frustrated and think that, oh my God, all this is so overwhelming. And every time I think I have something right, I don't have it right. And like, there's this other way. And then I tried that and it didn't work. And it's like, they're just going to be like, forget this shit. Like, I don't want to fucking do this anymore. And I've seen it. Like, I've seen it with people I've trained. Like a girl I trained specifically, I won't say her name. She was super into this sport, like giving it her all, like trained like an animal. She trained harder than any person I ever trained. Like, I can say that with confidence. Did everything she's told to do, but always these questions. Oh, should I be doing this? Should I be doing that? Blah, blah. All her personality was very anxious to begin with. So she's like being overwhelmed but inundated with information. Fuck it. Goes to play rugby.
Yeah.
Doesn't even want to lift.
All the fun got washed away from it.
So let's go to a sport that literally is me not trying to get hit while I'm running with a ball, or me trying to tackle someone with a ball.
Yeah.
Simple. There's no nuance of that. Just crack that motherfucker, right? So it's like they just get so down and out. Like, I got to make this simpler. I think that's why a lot of people, and I'm not downplaying powerlifting, but I think that's why a lot of bodybuilders do convert to powerlifting, because they're like, man, this is just too much for me.
Oh, they're gonna be up for a rude awakening.
Yeah, I'm saying, but the variables are different.
Sure, yeah,
so there's with bodybuilding, it's diet, it's this, it's that, it's this. In powerlifting, it's like it's all that, but it's like this is your one focus.
Yeah,
move that.
No, I
weight.
get that. That makes sense.
Like move that fucking weight. Like it's like when I got to college, I was a linebacker. They wanted me to know coverages. They wanted me to call plays. They wanted me to do all this stuff. I'm like, I just want to run and tackle people. And they're like, what's the coverage? I'm like, or what's the change off the audible off that? I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
So when they moved me to D-line, he's like, my coach, I walked in the room. He's like, welcome to the phone booth. I'm like, thank you. Yeah. Like, you just got to know what the fuck you're doing. He's like, and if we got to stunt, you got to know which way you're going. You got to know that. That's it. He's like, welcome to not thinking anymore. And I was like, this is the best thing ever. I had the most fun playing football when I had to think less, right?
Yeah.
But when I got into bodybuilding, it's the same thing. I enjoyed training because I didn't think about training. I did what I was told and I did what I felt. And then it just transitioned into like, I really like this. I never had programs, dude. I had like people who trained with me and we'd follow like, oh, let's do like 4 sets here. Let's do 5. Like, fuck, let's move on. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we know we got to lift heavy. We know we got to push ourselves. So like, that was the basic underlying foundation. Let's push ourselves, whether that's like intensity wise, rep wise, set like wise. So like there was always this progression of moving towards something, but it wasn't just like, oh, come in and move weight. It was like, how hard can we push ourselves this time? Like, how many sets can we do here? Can we do another exercise? Can we add this? Can we add that? And that's what made it fun for me, right? Whereas these people nowadays are like, well, I push pull legs and then I have like reps in reserve and all this stuff. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking?
I agree. I think the loss of figuring shit out or the art of figuring shit out for yourself has been lost. But and some people will do the people who are genetically suited will do great. Here's your program. Here's your food. Just do that and not have to auto regulate. Think about it. But that's the minority.
Yeah. Like I literally when I got into bodybuilding after I was done football, I met a very good friend of mine who I consider like a father figure. His name's Joe in Rhode Island. Joe was a pro before, like he's a smaller guy. He's like, I think when he won his pro card, he's a middleweight or something, but I just gave him the reins. I'm like, tell me what to do. You obviously know what to do. I'm going to do what you tell me to do. I don't want to think because I just came from football. I didn't have to think. I just smash. So you tell me what to do and I'll show up. And I fell in love with the sport because I was like, man, this guy, I just do this and look at me. He tells me how to do this and I look at me and like, all I have to do is just work hard and like it pays off. And like these kids they don't have that fun of it. It's just like, go in there and kick ass and fucking lift weights and have fun and watch what good things happen. Instead of like every rep, I have to focus on this and everything. I have to do this and I have to write this down. And if I'm not hitting I had too much fat today, I got to cut my carbs out. It's like, just work out, man, and eat food, and you'll really, really love this sport. And you can figure out all that stuff as you go. You don't need to know it at the beginning. You don't need to know everything, man. Like finding stuff out and naturally, organically growing and learning is how you become to love a sport, right? Yeah. Like I still learn today. I watch people in the gym or I hear something. I'm like, that's fucking amazing. I never thought about that way. And if you ever stop that, you need to get the fuck out of here, right? I'm sure you're the same way. You might see some random guy who trains people somewhere and you're like, holy fuck, man. I never even like I've thought that, but I've never been able to like put that into like an idea or like an actual thought. Like I've always understood this like roundabout thing, but this guy just nailed it, right? Yeah.
A different way of explaining what you've been trying to figure out. You know, that kind of stuff. I think we're seeing the backlash of that though with Sam, as you said. Yeah. Right. Because he's having fun. He's training hard. Yeah. You know, and it's the opposite of all the other chatter, which of course they're going to come after him.
Yeah, it's like we said, like you can't have fun. There's no having fun. This is like serious, right? Like don't make us look like this has no like has no framework or like reason to it. Where Sam's just like, yeah, I'm just working out, dude. And I'm making a shit ton of money just fucking doing it and fucking I'm big. I'm jacked and I'm eating what I want. You're like, no, that's not like, guys, no, that's not what we do. That's not what we do around here. Yeah. This guy's crazy. It's literally what we all did. And we just like, you could never monetize it or make money off of it or sell it. So you abandoned it. Cause like,
well, nobody's really seen it.
Yeah. And like, but that's the same with me. Like people are like, why aren't you making programs for people? Why aren't you sharing? I'm like, cause I can't. I've never seen you do anything. I have to be there to see it. And that's awful for me because, oh, girl, I could be making so much money selling these and this and this and this. But it would be true. It wouldn't be true to me. I can't do it because I don't know what the fuck you're doing. And I'm not going to tell you to do a lat pull down if that shit looks like dog shit. And you're like, and then you're like, Mike told me to do it. Like some people tag me in their exercises. I had it happen like yesterday. And like, I always repost people who post me because I'm thankful for them like adding me. I'm never above that. But if you're going to butcher my shit, I'm not reposting you. This kid was doing like some weird ass fucking row and he's like, Van Wyck style. I'm like, no, man. Like, or sometimes I'll go on and be like, almost like, just do this and do that. I don't want people thinking that's me. Like, I didn't tell you to do that, dude. Like, that would drive me nuts if someone, like, it's just the weirdest. Like, some of them are just outlandish. I'm just like, in my head, I'm like, what video did you watch? Because I never fucking did that. Yeah. You literally made that up. And if that's your visual interpretation of what I just said, we need to sit down and talk because you're fucking gone, dude. That's nowhere near what I said.
Yeah. What's been the most outlandish one that you've gotten?
Oh, it's not like, it's just like weird ass movement that you're just like it's like someone posting you in a video and like they're picking up the barbell with like a completely hunched back and then standing up and like Dave Tate style. And you're like, what the fuck, bro? Like, it's no like one specific one. It's just like there's some I come across sometimes where I'm just like, whoa, what the fuck was that? Like, I write them personally. I'm like, yo, you need to like be like keep your chin back. You need to tuck in. You need to lock here. Like, and they're like, oh, thanks, man. I'm like, no, just don't ever post that again. Yeah. Then
you hope next week they post it right, or it comes back next week worse.
It's like, did what you told me, man. Like, fuck.
What's the last post that you made where the comments went sideways?
Well, fucking every one of them, but I have to look. Well, people got really bent out of shape about the bands on the bench. That was for sure. And people didn't really get bent out of shape, but I had this. If someone's an idiot, if someone's disrespectful towards me or comes in my comments and says something stupid, I'm going to say something back to you because one, you weren't invited and you're unsolicitedly giving me your fucking opinion. So I was arguing with this guy, and then of course, when you're right and you make someone feel stupid just because they are, that's sadly the case. They come at you with, "Oh, you're such a great ambassador to the sport." Like I have some responsibility to act a certain way because you believe me. Like I don't represent bodybuilding. And I said in the video, I don't even fucking like bodybuilding that much. Like I like it, but I like the sport. I like lifting weights. I don't like the competition of it. Like I don't give a fuck, right? So I'm not your ambassador to the sport. So don't say that shit to like make me feel bad. I don't owe you anything, right? People are like, oh man, it's so negative. Most people are like, yeah, you're not. Like, and we like you because of that. But like, there's all these people like, you know, kids watch you and they're this and that. I'm like, well, first of all, I can see my demographics, guys. No kids are watching. Yeah, I can see it. So this imaginary world where you think I'm like I'm this like figure where I'm influencing people is not true because everyone who's watching is my age. Yeah, 8-year-olds. And a little younger. Yeah. So it's like, I'm not like kids aren't putting their parents aren't putting their kids on to me like, watch this guy, let him raise you. You know what I mean? Like,
well, ambassador at home though.
Exactly. What is this? What would I be the ambassador for? Taking juice and posing on stage? Like that's what bodybuilding is. Yeah. So anybody could do that. And why would you need to be a positive influence to do so? Right? Like I make fun of people or I poke fun at like everything that all of us see. Or like shit that pops in your head, like, man, this kid's a fucking dork. What's he doing? Right? Like, I'll just say it though. But I think more people should say it. Yeah. Because in the long run, you're helping these people and not hurting them, especially when they're doing stupid shit in the gym that's going to end up fucking them up. Right? It's like, I'm going about it in a funny way, but like, I am seriously being like, stop doing that. Like, you're going to regret doing that when you get older. Like, I know it seems normal now, but take it from a guy with a fucking fake hip and a fake shoulder. Yeah. I know what doesn't work because I did it and I have the fucking scars to show for it, right? So I'm not coming at you like waving my finger like, it's like I did all that shit. I benched more than you. I squatted more than you. I did all this stupid shit that I wasn't supposed to do. And like, I'm telling you, there's a better way to go about it. Not that you shouldn't do it, but there's better ways to do it, right? So, but people, they can't help themselves from just like trying to make you feel bad for some unknown reason. Like, it's the oddest
interesting thing is it's, you know, the question is, does it make you feel bad? It probably
not
does.
at all.
So they're just exhausted.
But it's so funny that like it's this weird thing where like people online, and I'm sure you've had it, like they respond to what you say as if you're speaking directly to them.
Mm-hmm.
Like they don't see that there's a disconnect there. Like I'm on a screen that you chose to click on, and I started talking to a camera that's not directed at you, and you're literally eating those words like, oh, fuck, this fucking guy's saying this. Is he talking to me? I fucking do bent over rows like that. He's talking to me and like getting mad. Like, I'm not talking to you. If you do that, like, sorry, but I mean, like,
yeah, that's.
I'm not talking to Chris in fucking Alabama. Like, he's like, motherfucker. Like, it's the weirdest shit.
Yeah, it's like you hacked into their phone.
Yeah,
and we're able to see them.
So it's also more like they're seeing you tell them that something may not be effective, or like I'm in some cases saying it's absolutely stupid or idiotic. But they've literally been doing that for the last 2 decades. And they take it to heart because like, that's the way I do it. Is he fucking saying I'm stupid? And you're like, no, I'm not saying you're stupid, but the way that you're doing that is dumb. Mm-hmm. And there's way better ways, even if it's not my way. There's way better ways. So these people come out of the woodwork and they attack. Like, I've been doing like that. You know what the fuck you're talking about?
Yeah, yeah.
So I tell them, post a picture. Like, take your thing off private. Take your little screenshot, which is like an emoji or like some random picture. Post a picture of you, and we'll see if it worked or not. It didn't. That's why you have a fucking emoji as your picture and your screen is private, right? Yeah. Or it's like some dork who's like, with his brother on a lake fishing or something. I don't fucking know.
Well, I'm gonna guess nobody's ever posted.
No, they don't. This one guy's like talking to me about his bench press. I said he was talking about. He's obviously the guy in his gym who's like the big bench press guy, jerking his hips off the fucking pad, bouncing the bar off his sternum. Like, I'll give you credit. You move the weight. It's heavy. But I just said that wouldn't be allowed in a powerlifting meet. So don't say you're a powerlifter because none of that shit's powerlifting. Yeah. You can't do that. Mm-hmm. He's like, oh, I'm fucking bench more than you. I said, first of all, you don't. I said, you do now. And he's like, well, post a video of it. I'm like, I just had shoulder replacement surgery, asshole.
Yeah, yeah.
What are you talking about? But it's just guys like that, like, post the video, man. I'm like, and then everyone starts attacking this kid, right? Because like it's just moronic what he's doing. But it's just like you can't navigate through social media without finding complete and utter trolls that just want to like make a name off you or talk to you or get you to respond to something they say. It's just like find it so odd. Like it's just the weirdest thing to me.
Why do you respond then?
I'm compelled to. It's like Tourette's. Like I just like it's like most of them will slide by. Like I'm like, yeah, fuck that guy. And then I'm like, oh, it's like yes, you're getting the fucking. I'm unleashing on you for the last 15 I ignored.
Yeah.
It's like fuck you, man. It's like I've actually called people before, like on video calls too. Like, what did you say? And they're like, oh, fucking. It's like,
no, wait, hold on. So they posted something stupid. So then you sent them a video message just saying,
no, I called them.
Oh, you called them?
Yeah, I'll call them. I'll click on their thing and press call.
Yeah.
And then they'll pick up and they'll either hang up or be like, what? I'm like, what'd you say? And he's like, well, you know, man, it's really fucked up that you said that. I'm like, I'm not fucking talking to you. I'm like, I don't even know who the fuck you are. They're like, click, hang up. Like, oh, God.
That's next level.
Like, fucking let this shit slide. Like, I think more people need to stop letting shit slide in this life.
No,
you know what I mean?
No, I think we need to continue on this topic because I think I need to start doing this shit.
Yeah, you can make a segment of it. Like this guy called me today. We're gonna call him right now. Hey, man.
Well, there's some bad DMs. Bad ones. I mean, they won't even post the comment. It would just be some stupid DM.
Yeah.
I never thought I'd just fucking calling him.
This other guy wrote me the other day. I don't even know who he is. He does like black and white videos, has face tats and a head tat, and like talks about training. Like, I wonder where that fucking idea came from.
Yeah, I've never seen that before.
Like, fucking wow. And so I'm like, see, just out of nowhere, like, you know, man, I unsubscribed to you recently because, you know, I used to find you very beneficial for training, but now I find you're just negative and talking bad about people and blah, 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 blah. Like this long thing. So I wrote back, do you think I give a fuck? He's like, no, I don't think you do. I'm like, then why did you write that? Well, because I'm like, shut the fuck up. Like,
He already unsubscribed anyhow.
and you unfollowed, but you felt compelled to write me a novel.
Yeah.
And then came back and was like, oh, I really appreciate what tips you have given though. I'm like, fuck off, dude. Like, no one asked you to follow me. I don't give a shit. Like, either do it or don't.
Yeah.
And I don't know you like at all. I don't even know your name. You're like, your name is whatever your screen name is on Instagram. And you're like, I'm a badass because I fucking talk about weights and shit like that. It's like, get the fuck out of here. So weird. People are just free to do whatever they want on Instagram and like social media because they don't have to answer for it right away.
Mm-hmm. Well, they'd never do it in the gym in your face.
Well, yeah, but it's just, you put it out there and it's just in the abyss. It doesn't exist. So I don't, even if the person reads it, they can't come at me about it or like walk up to me and be like, what'd you say? Like, what did you say about me? And they're just like, I'm fine. So like, I have guys that follow me that are like fans of mine that are like pretty devout fans of mine. They'll be like, bro, you want to say that to my face? This is my address. Come to my house right now. Or like, where do you live? I was like,
Yeah.
I'm like, Jesus, man, take it easy, bro. It's not that serious, but it's fucking funny. Like, these people have some balls online and then they'll backpedal as soon as they get some resistance, even in a comment. It's like, so why did you write it? Like, what was the point? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I honestly think it's just to get your attention and have you talk to them. Like, literally. Like, it's that pathetic of a reason. Like, I just wanted some attention and I was hoping it would piss you off and you'd say hi to me or something like that. It's creepy shit, man.
Maybe. I'm trying to figure out how putting myself in that person. Like, why would I do that?
Yeah.
It's
like, if you want to like troll someone, be like, you saw they'd be like, you're whack, dude. You just write something, right? But like, to literally like type.
Yeah.
And it's on the screen this big. It's like, what is going on? Like, what were you doing with your day? Are you employed? Do you have like time to do this every day? Or it must have really struck a nerve with you. I don't know. It's fucking weird as shit though. You're trying to wrap your head if you could do that.
I'm trying to wrap my head around, is there any instance that I would ever do that for anything? I mean, no, because first off, the person's not going to give a fuck anyhow. And if it was somebody that I'd really want to say it to, I would just text them or call them.
Yeah.
I don't care enough, I guess, is what the problem is.
Like, I don't know. It's very odd. It's like one of the weirdest human behaviors to me is just like spout out stuff online and just like put it out there for no apparent reason, just like causing shit.
Yeah.
It's like, if I don't agree with something, and I see a video, I don't feel compelled to like type something. I'm just like, anyway, I'll watch the next video or see the next clip. Like,
until you see 3 or 4, then you make a clip about it.
Yeah.
But you're not calling that person out by name either.
No.
It's just a generalized clip.
Well, at that point, it's becoming a trend, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you see these trends like keep flowing and flowing, like this idiot said it, it's like, okay, whoa. Like, we need to back this up, because if this is going to continue on, people need to know the opposite of that to be true, because it is true. You can't just let this bullshit slide all the time, right? So that's what I mean when I say people should call people out more. Like, you don't have to be as aggressive as I am or whatever, but just be like, hey, then that's not right. Like, there's another way to do that. So please stop saying that. Like, we're not just taking what you say as gospel. Like, oh,
that call out could be, show me the research behind that.
Yeah.
Which is another one. Like, show me the studies that support what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Those comments.
Yeah. I was like, well, you find them for me and I'll let you know. Fucking Jesus.
Or you flip it. Show me the studies that actually support what I'm saying is wrong.
Yeah. Well, the worst is when people call out studies in bodybuilding, especially when it comes to training, because there isn't any. There are very few fucking studies where it's like followed the journey of people who train in a certain style that are this level of bodybuilder, this level of experience, this whatever. It's always done on sedentary human beings, right? Who like, we gave this group this and this group this. We told them to work out and look what happened. It's like, that's not representative of what we are. Like, and all these studies you want to point to are great, but the proof is in the pudding in terms of like, even with powerlifting, like I'm sure there's methods of training that you believe are 100% correct. There's never been a study done on it. Because no one wants to fund that.
Sure.
And there's no one that has 10 years to watch or 5 years to watch and see that carried out over time. but we have proof of it by people who stand in front of you and are like, that's a strong fucking dude.
Yeah.
That dude just pulled 9 like it was like 3. He's like, think.
Sure.
He's like, well, you know what? He trains in, well, he chose this. Like, no, he trains in this. And it's never been proven by anybody other than that guy pulls 9.
Yeah.
Like it's a baby weight. And he wouldn't do that unless he trained the way we train. And it's the same with bodybuilding. That's why it's people like, oh, you can't point to people's physiques. And if someone's physique doesn't make them an expert, it's like, that's true. But that person did train in a certain way. So whatever they did work. And there's no study to prove that it did or didn't. Like there's no way.
Well, even if they took let's say if they took all pro bodybuilders, which you could say are all genetic outliers because they're IFBB pros. If you took all pros, they're all going to train somewhat different. There's always going to be individuality. But if you peel that back enough, I'm sure you can find common things in every one of them that can be applied.
Like consistency,
hard
work,
the things we were talking about. Yes.
Pushing yourself past, like pushing yourself to the limit or past it. All those like 4 variables, 5, 6 variables, whatever you deem them to be, carry across every style of training.
Yeah. So when I hear those things like, well, you can't look at those people because they're outliers. I'm like, well, I think you can look at the outliers and find all the things that they did that are the same.
Yep. You
right.
Definitely can.
And if you don't look there, where are you supposed to look? The people that don't make progress?
No, that's why why is a skinny dude with no fucking arms and no fucking back and never had a physique to speak of, why is he telling me how to build muscle optimally? If he knows it, then why isn't he doing it? He just doesn't want to have muscle? He doesn't desire to look like the byproduct of his work? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I'd want to, if I know how to achieve a goal or achieve a physique, enhanced or not, I'm still going to be the best I can be. So I should look like something.
Yeah.
Or I did at one point look like something because I applied what I knew and I proved it. So like these guys were sitting around, these little like pint-sized dudes who are like, this is a great work. This is great for your hamstrings. It's going to help with your development. It's like, you're this big. And you've always been that big. I was that big in 8th grade. So is my 8th grade self better than you because he was bigger than you and he knew what he was doing more than you? You're a full-grown adult who can't grow and can't put on muscle. Enhanced or not, you should be able to put on muscle. Like, yes, it's at a slower rate. Don't get me wrong. But like, you should be making improvements. You're not. And you're skinny and you're like nothing. And this sport is about muscle bodybuilding. It's about muscle. It's about nothing else. It's not how strong you are. It's not your fucking PRs. It's how you look. How much muscle can you put on your frame? So if you don't have any on your frame and you're telling me what to do, I'm not listening to you at all. Like even a bit. Or you can't, or if you look like that, then you can show me 5 guys you train that look like I want to look, I'll listen because you're onto something, right? But if it's just you, like these influencer kids, and then they have these other kids who look exactly like them, you already look better than the influencer kid. And he's telling you what to do.
Yeah.
But you're bigger than him already. And you're better than him. And they're like, well, he really knows because he says fancy words and uses anatomy charts.
Yeah.
It's crazy. The world's gone nuts, man.
I think sometimes I'll think about shit like that and act like, what would I do if I was 14 now in this world? Like, would I fall for that shit or would I not?
I think that's why, like, I don't know. It's a good question. I was lucky. I feel like grateful that I found the people I found that guided me.
Yeah.
But I just don't have that level of like hope for a lot of kids.
Well, if the people that they're finding that are guiding them are behind screens, it's going to be different.
At least find someone who like can physically show you something. Even if it's a trainer you hire, who maybe is a guy at the gym, he's like kind of has the physique you want to have, or he looks like he knows what he's doing. Like even if it's just a few sessions or it's a few, like, hey man, do you have a minute just to show me something? Like most guys, like if someone came up to me and asked me like, you have a minute to like, if I'm not with someone and they, hey man, I'm doing this, I'm not feeling this. I'm like, come over here, like show me, like, and I'll tweak something. Like not going to give them the whole rundown, but like, yo, you're not you're driving from your shoulder too much on a fly. You need to throw with your hand more. You need to get your weight moving back, whatever the fuck it is. Some 2 little tips that they can apply. Right. So like, I agree with you. It's like, it's a very weird time. And I said this in a video, like, I think like I'm on bro chat and me and you are like the same age-ish. Like we're in this realm of like, like we're all within 5 to 10 years up or down of each other, whatever it is. Like this generation of people is moving away.
Yes.
And the generation that's coming in to fill that gap, I have no faith in.
Yeah.
Zero. Like there's no one in there. Like very few. There's probably a handful I'm missing, but like these bodybuilding people that are moving into this frame that are now going to become the bro chats or like I don't think they have it, man. Like I really don't think they do, because their mind has been infiltrated by such bullshit that they can't discern what works and what doesn't. They're just all over the fucking place. They haven't chosen their path.
Yeah.
Whereas like you've chosen your path. I've chosen my path. I don't train with other people. I'll never work out with other people. I train my style. And other people train their style. They only work their style. But that's how you get a perspective as a younger person. You go and train with all these different people and you make your own style, and that becomes your style. And then you pass it on to someone, they get their style. And that's how we evolve, right? But these kids that are coming up, I don't see. I obviously don't pay attention to everybody, but I just don't see when I'm looking online, like a face that pops up in the younger generation where I'm like, they're heading on a good path. Like this person knows what they're doing. I don't see it.
Where I put my faith in that is, I wonder if the people that were ahead of us thought that way about us. So that's my first question.
Yeah.
They probably did. Right. And then I do strongly believe the what you see online is the vocal minority. Like there are people out there. They're in gyms, they're training hard, but they're not posting their shit.
Yeah.
They may be the people that are making the anonymous comments. I mean, they may have the fake accounts, right? Yeah. But they're not putting themselves front and center for whatever reason. I'd be really surprised to know how many people actually do put themselves front and center. Like if we could figure out how many people train seriously, and then out of that, what percentage of that actually post front and center? I'd really love to know what that number is.
I think it's also like that Mike Mentzer thing you talked about, where people are discovering this now. That's also a great thing with social media, that you have access to this library of people that were before you. Yeah. But like, it's how you're interpreting the message. So like, there's like you and me, we can go back and look at so-and-so's training and be like, oh man, like I forgot about that shit. Yeah. Like I can pull from that again. This is something I didn't think about, but we have the ability to like discern information and understand what works and what doesn't. So I would encourage those kids that are doing that are finding these old things, like dig deeper. Yes. Dig deeper into those pockets of people. Like Mike Mentzer's one guy, but there's other guys from his generation who are fucking fantastic as well. And there's guys before him that were fantastic, and you can pull from all of them too. Don't just like wait for like the new popular old school thing to pop up. Like, thank God you have this catalog of shit to look at.
Find it before it becomes new.
Yeah. You can make it new. You can tell everybody you got some new training style. Meanwhile, fucking Sean Ray did it back in whatever. You know what I mean? Like you can find these people and find.
That's good advice. And when you find, like, say if it is Mentzer, then devour it.
Yeah.
Don't just watch 2 45-second clips.
Yeah.
Go find everything about that.
Yeah. I'm sure there's footage of him training online that's like old and came back out, or someone's talked about it, and like I really like watch how that guy moves. Don't even like, that's why I encourage people when they watch videos of people who are really good at training, like have great body parts, whatever, like literally turn the sound down and watch how they move. Like watch how Phil Heath does a bicep curl. Yeah. That's the biggest arm you're ever going to fucking see. So he's doing something right. Like genetically, yes, he's gifted, but like he knows how to move. Motherfucker never curled over a 50. I don't think I've seen. Like, and probably stayed around 30s most of the time. Why the fuck are you trying to curl 70s? You know what I mean? So like, watch these guys move. Watch guys like, watch Ronnie when he fucking squats. Watch this. Watch where he releases. Watch where he hinges from. Watch where his neck is, his back is, whatever. See the movement and then try to emulate the movement, because obviously the way that guy's moving was optimal to develop these great body parts that you desire to have, right? Yeah. But him talking is going to distract you maybe, because he's like, blah, 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 blah. But if you watch the sound off and you just see like even go back, like what kicked first? Like where did his hip go? Where did his head fall? Where's the alignment of like his spine? Like where is his knee going? How much travel forward on his knee does he have on a squat? Where is he sitting? Like that shit will make all the difference. You take those little things and you start doing them in the gym. You're like, oh, now I know why this guy squats like that. Because
that's the nuance they should look for.
Yeah. That's 100% what they should be looking at. Not like, oh, I do my lateral raises cuffed now on a fucking bench, laying back, going like this. Like the dumbbell guys. It's been around for a fucking long time. It's not that hard to hold on to. Yeah. Do your laterals with dumbbells. Everyone in the world who's got the best delts you've ever seen did not cuff their wrist and do fucking laying back laterals on a bench.
What do you mean cuff their wrist?
They put cuffs, like ankle cuffs, around their wrist, hook the cable to the cuffs so they don't have to hold anything. But yeah, they still close their hands and lay back in an angle and fucking rip up on the cables to come back to a point of no tension, to rip right into tension and get pulled back down again.
All right.
It's like, that's the shit that's going on in gyms, because one person did it, then everyone else does it. And oh, it's easier. It seems like better on my joints. It's like, it's not easier. It's actually the complete opposite of easier. It's stupid.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. There's no tension. So it's like, they're all, that's what I'm saying. A lot of people are obsessed with like the wrong parts of the lift. So these people that do that and lean back with the cuff, they're obsessed with the concentric. How hard can I squeeze my arm at the top? Not understanding that the path of the movement of the dumbbell is what strains the delt.
Yeah.
It's not how high I lift it and hold it. Or when it falls back down, I have to rip it back up there again. It's not how it works. So it's this contraction-based mentality, and it's the same thing we're talking about with like hyper-isolating. All they're doing is contracting maximally and then letting out from that maximal contraction and getting back to it as fast as possible. But everything that happens on the let out and the back in is all we need, right?
Yeah.
We need the muscle to move, to work it.
And to feel it.
Yeah. If it doesn't open, if it doesn't move, how do you contract it? You're just holding that static state and then going, and holding into it again. It's like me doing a bicep curl and I just go like this.
Oh, people do that too.
Yeah, but it's like, it's stupid.
Oh, it is. It is.
It's just like, and there's no other way to put that. And you can call people whatever you want to call them, mean or whatever. Like, stupid is a word that's used to describe something that doesn't make sense or is like moronic. And like, it doesn't make sense. It's dumb. It would be dumb to do. It's going to hurt you, obviously, sometime. But it's like, guys, there's so many basic ways to do movements. Just do them and do them well. Stop trying to find like ways around it. Do you know what I mean?
I'm still trying to figure out, because they got these cuffs on their hands, right? So you cuff the first cable, right? How the
It's a fucking acrobatic move. I'll tell you.
So they need their training partner to cuff their other fucking hand?
Or they need to like
how
this hand's cuffed and then they grab the other cable and like, and they I'm telling you, man, it's fucking
just that alone
it's impressive to watch.
That alone would make me say, fuck it, let's just do dumbbells.
And it's like, how much weight could you possibly do on that?
Oh,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like 15 pounds without like just janking back and leaning. So it's like,
wow, that's a good one.
And literally a lateral with a dumbbell doesn't even need to break parallel for there to be tension on the delt. In fact, it probably shouldn't. Like if you want to overemphasize and really do like Arnold flies, like really get that swing, but like just to stimulate the delt, I don't need to go very far.
No.
So what's this like? Why do I need all this leverage to lean back and throw my hand behind me and then fight the super resistance going forward, which is not on my delt. It's on my lat and my shoulder.
Yeah.
And then I rip this thing back again. It's like, how can we make the easiest movements super hard?
I got to figure out how I can follow this shit, because I'm not seeing any of this. I need to look at like who you're following or something.
You need to come to my gym. Just come for a day.
Holy shit.
Without your brain melting.
Yes.
I'm sure.
Wow.
I'm sure the powerlifting going on there too would blow your mind as well.
Well, it does pretty much. I mean, it does pretty much everywhere, but you know, there's that as well. Whatever.
Yeah.
I've kind of learned how to not give a fuck about a lot of it unless they ask.
Yeah.
You know, so
it's a blessing and a curse for me, because I'm in a gym all day training people, so I'm aware of everything. I see my surroundings, so it's like, what the fuck's happening? Like, I'll say it out loud when I'm not even meaning to. Like, what the fuck is that guy doing? Like, right, he's gonna break his back.
Well, sometimes you can't unsee it, for one thing. There's that.
That's why if I trained in a gym alone, like these guys that have their own gyms or whatever, I'd just be like, everything seems cool in this world. Like, I don't know how much to talk about, but then I go to a commercial gym, I'm like,
well, I'll be honest, that's probably where my bias and ignorance comes from.
And you see world-class people coming here.
That's
who do things really well, and you're like, things are going well.
Yeah, and it's very rare that I venture out into any other.
But take a like drive into Columbus and go to like Lifetime Fitness. You'd be like, what's happening in here?
No.
It'd be one of those horror movies where you're just like, flashing to scenes of people.
Yeah, when I'm out of town and I'll go into a gym, I I see a little bit of it there, but what I'm more amazed with than anything else is just the tripods.
Yeah.
You know, that more amazing.
I think gyms need to ban them. I think there's a gym and like, you don't need to ban people filming. That's not what I'm saying. But like this tripod shit is like this case is magnetic.
Yeah.
You can stick it to a pole and I can film. So there's ways of being less intrusive and doing what you want to do still, right? Mm-hmm. But this whole idea of like bringing a literal tripod, like I'm talking one of these heavy duty ones, like you're begging for people to fucking hate you because it's ridiculous. It's like walking around with a roller bag instead of a backpack to go to the gym. Like, what much stuff do you have in there?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and it's like you can't not be in the way if you have a tripod and you're setting it up in the middle of the gym, especially at like a cable station. And you have a tripod set up, like people are like moving around this thing. Like you're an ignorant person for doing that. That's an ignorant thing to do. Like just stick your shit or put your water bottle down, prop it up. You know what I mean? Like we don't need these angles. This isn't cinematic for us, right? Like it's wild, man.
Any other things that you wanted to talk about I didn't bring up?
No.
Replacement. Oh, here was one. With because we've already kind of established that we're fucking both old and beat up, right? So
beat up would be an improvement.
Yeah. So if we look at our demographic and then we look back, and because mentioning Sam's kind of like an anchor, so we are all kind of like that at one point. And then through a period of time, through age, experience, education, or whatever, we all end up on this other side. Where what are some of the key takeaways that you would have being on this other side looking back? Obviously technique is one of the things that you put out there.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say what would we change if we went back, because I still would have done the same shit that I did in my 20s. In my 30s, maybe I would have changed some shit a little bit, right?
Yeah. Every decade it gets a little
it gets a little different.
more and more.
But there's things that we all agree on that when we look back, you know, the technical aspects definitely one. What are some other ones that you can think of? And do you think it was education, age, or you think it was education or experience that taught us that?
I think and it's like kind of goes for everything in life, like sports or just life in general, just like slow down and stop being in such a rush to like grow and like hit these weights and hit these numbers. Like this is all going to come with time, right? So it's not like you hitting it by a certain age or like being in such a rush. Like if you equate it to powerlifting, like I got to squat 800.
Yeah.
I don't like
in 3 years.
Okay. Yeah, it's okay. Like if it takes 4.
Yeah.
It's okay if it takes 5. Like getting there and being complete when we get there and like being good is the goal. You'll get the number. And if you don't get the number, you still progress so much, right? In bodybuilding, it's the kind of the opposite because people are pushing the weights, but it's like with the gear. It's like, why are we hammering gear so much? Like, especially these younger guys, like using compounds that are like, I would never even in my life dream of using tren as just like walking around, existing, being on tren. Like I'd be in jail or I'd be a basket case, right? So just like this like goal of like, I want to be 280 shredded and doing whatever it takes to be there and not understanding like it can take longer and you'll still be good. Like we don't need to push and like really fuck yourself up. Like enjoy the process and enjoy the journey. Get to 260, 250, whatever the fuck it is, and just be smart about it and just stop being in such a rush thinking that your time is so finite, because you thinking that your time is so finite, it will become finite. Like you will not progress past a certain point or something bad's going to happen. Like an injury or a health setback, because you've mentally told yourself, I only have this time frame to do this. So therefore that's what I have. It's like you have your whole life and the existence, the whole history ahead of you training to reach what you want to reach. You don't be in a rush to get there and sacrifice that. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, I totally get it.
Yeah. So it's hard. Like you even said, like if we said that to someone sitting here right now, they'd be like, fuck off, dude. I'm going to do 800 in 3 years. Not 5.
Yeah. And I kind of, I get it, but
yeah, because the motivation has to be there. You have to have that drive. You have to have that hunger. But it's like if you kind of step back and be like, okay, like especially when you're reaching not even roadblocks, like sticking points where it's like I'm having this like pushback with my body where it's like, whoa, like
Yeah, but
something's happened.
They're skipping things like because I definitely had an all-in mentality. I'll never not say that, to the point it was not good. But I wasn't, if I was like a 600 pound or 500 pound squatter, I wasn't thinking I want to squat 800.
Yeah.
It was, I have to do 550.
Yeah.
They want to go, the ones I'm talking to, they're around 500. They want to do 800.
Yeah.
I'm like, why don't you fucking focus on 600?
Yeah. Or
right?
525.
Yeah. And chip away, because when your goal's so far out like that, you're going to do stupid shit and never get it.
Yeah. And that's what's happening with bodybuilding is, let's say these kids, they want to get into bodybuilding. They want to look like, Chris is the biggest thing in bodybuilding. Chris Bumstead.
Yeah.
This kid who's never worked out before, got a decent physique, wants to look like Chris Bumstead. You're looking at Chris as a finished product. He's literally near the end of his career. If you had to like deem phases of what he's doing, you're at the beginning of stages of even understanding what working out is. Like, you have 2 or 3 decades to go. To think that you're going to like leapfrog those by doing more weight, more juice, more whatever, being an idiot, you're going to get caught up halfway and be cut off. Like, nothing's going to happen with you. Like, bad things are going to happen. Right. So it's like, just take your time. That's what I mean. Just like, have these goals in mind, these grand dreams, like, but understand it takes like little steps along the way to get there, and be just as happy about attaining those, because they add up and lead to where you want to be. Right.
Well, I think there's validation in this too, because how many pro bodybuilders got there like that?
Nobody.
How many, top level world record powerlifters got there that way? None.
Exactly.
Right. So this person thinks they're going to be the outlier,
and odds are they're like so far from a physical specimen. It's not even funny, which is you're nowhere near.
Yeah.
You don't even have the ability to do that in you. So
yeah, when I said outlier, that's funny, because the people who are there are the outliers. So the outliers aren't even the outlier with what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Because they weren't able to do that either.
No.
So you can't hack it.
They had to work at it.
It's still at least a decade or 2.
Yeah. That's why it's like, just consistency over time and dedication is the only true skill you need to be good at anything. You have to be willing to put in the time. You have to be patient and like be willing to suffer through like the monotony and the drudgery of getting to eventually where this person is. You have to fight through all that shit too.
Yeah.
They had to fight and struggle and like want to quit, not care anymore, come back to it. Like, it's not just a smooth road. Like, oh, I just grew into fucking Jay Cutler. The last 2 years, I just decided to do it. It's like,
that's a good point though. Cause even the ones that it came easier to still had those same thoughts and frustrations.
Yeah. It's just, you're seeing the finished product in this day and age where everything is instant gratification. Like, everything we do, like kids, like they want something to get it right away. They want to see this, they get it right away. Like, so they just assume everything that they want is easily attained just by deciding they want it. But life isn't like that.
Yeah.
It's not. Like, I want to be able to fucking squat 4 plates on my back again and go down to the floor. I'm not going to be able to do that, but I'm okay with it. It's like, I have a fake hip. Like, I just don't want to do that. You know what I mean? But these kids will just completely ignore that and be like, no, dude, no, regardless, like, I'm capable of anything. It's like, sometimes you're not. And that's okay. You might be good at other shit.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
That's probably a good note to end on. Any final thoughts?
No, I just want to take time to thank you for inviting me down again, because you're like the only person when I first started coming up who had me on their podcast. You know what I mean? Like, even before Bro Chat and everybody, like, I was on random stuff, but like, I'll always make time to come down and hang out with you, because I appreciate you supporting me. You know what I mean?
No,
especially from like where I was when I came here last time to where I am now was almost double, and more people are annoyed by me than ever. So
that's good.
I'll keep coming back.
That's
the more annoyed they get.
That's if we can annoy more people, then we'll do more.
No, but I appreciate it, and I appreciate like everyone who supports me along the way. Like, it's not lost on me. So thanks.
Where do you want people to follow you at? Obviously everywhere, but
just the YouTube and the Instagram. It's easy to find me. Just type in Mike Van Wyck. I'll pop up.
We got the links in the description too. So thank you for coming out.
I appreciate it, man.
Guys, we're done.
If we're lowering our weight, passive tension is usually coming from a couple of places. Passive tension will be coming from titin, which is a very large protein molecule that runs through the sarcomere. And we also have the slow detachment rates that are happening between actin and myosin. So you have that combination